related to consider all matters relating to technology, engineering, and electronic research, information, broadcasting and information, communication and technology, ICT development. Honorable Speaker, during the period under review, the committee held a total of 9 sittings, during which it considered 5 statements and 4 inquiries. Honorable Speaker, 4 statements were ongoing from the various reporting period, and 1 statement was sought from the committee during the current period. The committee considered and concluded 1 of them and is currently considering the remaining 4. In considering the said statements, the committee considered the statements through physical sittings with the stakeholders and the respective senators who made the request, while in their insistence admitted and shared the responses with the respective senators. Statements sought by Senator Samson Cherargei, Safaricom, requested by Senator John Kunesu, MP. Inquiry. Honorable Speaker, the committee is currently conducting the following inquiries. Inquiry into the digital asset infrastructure in Kenya and Nigeria are reported. Inquiry into the critical telecommunication infrastructure in the country. Inquiry into the establishment of digital infrastructure and 4. Inquiry into the operation of fisheries and other country-related collection and management systems.
Consideration. The bills are the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 10 of 2024, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 11 of 2024, the Election Offences Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 9 of 2024, the Statutory Instruments Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 10 of 2024, the Elections Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 11 of 2024, and lastly, the Political Parties Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 13 of 2024. The first 2 bills, Mr. Speaker, were introduced in the National Assembly, and we expect that they will be referred to the Senate in the coming weeks, while the other 4 bills were read a first time in the Senate yesterday and committed to our committee for consideration. Additionally, Mr. Speaker, we are deliberating on the framework for implementation of the proposals to amend the Constitution as contained in the NADCO and MSWG reports, including matters relating to elections, the establishment of state offices and special funds, and implementation of the 2/3 gender principle in Parliament. Mr. Speaker, in fact, as you speak right now, there is an ongoing joint meeting between the JLAC of the National Assembly and the Senate for purposes of considering public participation on the IEBC draft bill. Mr. Speaker, I want to assure this House and indeed all Kenyans that this is an assignment that we take very seriously. We shall in the coming weeks be tabling our joint report in the 2 houses, proposing the framework for implementation of the resolutions and recommendations contained in the NADCO and MSWG reports. On other activities by the committee, Mr. Speaker, during the period under reference, the committee further hosted and held deliberations with the visiting delegation of Murang'a County Assembly Committee on Governance, Labor, Justice and Legal Affairs, and also held engagements with various stakeholders during consideration of legislative business before the committee. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, I wish to thank your office for the support accorded to the committee in undertaking its work. I also wish to acknowledge the Secretariat that supported the committee and has received from the Office of the Clerk immense support. Lastly, I wish to commend the members of Justice, Legal Affairs and Human Rights Committee who have been very diligent in executing the work of the committee. Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
The Chairperson, Standing Committee on Labour and Welfare.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 56(1)B of the Senate Standing Orders to make a statement relating to the activities of the Standing Committee on Labour, Social Welfare for the period commencing 1st January 2024 to date. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Senate Standing Committee on Labour and Social Welfare is established under Standing Order 228(3) of the Senate Standing Orders and is mandated to consider all matters related to manpower and human resources planning, pension, gender, culture, social welfare, youth, national youth service, children's welfare, national heritage, betting, lottery, sports, public entertainment, public communities, and recreation. Honorable Speaker, during the period under the review, the committee held a total of 15 sittings, during which it considered 41 statements and 1 bill. The committee did not consider petition during this period, as it concluded and tabled reports on all the 6 petitions committed to the committee in the second session. Honorable Speaker, 29 statements were ongoing from the previous reporting period, and 12 statements were sought from the committee during the current period. The committee considered and concluded 4 of them and is currently considering the remaining ones. In considering the said statement, the committee considered the statement through physical sitting with stakeholders and the respective senators who made the request. While in other instances, the committee admitted written submissions and shared the response with the respective senators. Honorable Speaker, the committee received a response of the statement sought by Senator Samson Chelgai, MP, on the implementation of the report on a petition on alleged fraud by First Choice Recruitment and Consultancy Agency Limited, and shared it with the Senator. This is a matter that the committee is still actively pursuing. Honorable Speaker, the committee is currently sending out reminder letters on its pending statements and has scheduled meetings on some of them as follows. A, on Thursday, 25th April 2024, the committee will meet with the Teacher Service Commission and the management of the Kenya National Union of Special Needs Education teachers on the statement sought by Senator Christo Asige, MP, regarding the registration of teachers with disabilities by KUSNET. On Tuesday, 30th April 2024, the committee will meet with the National Treasury on the statements regarding the payment of one-off honorarium to former councillors by the Senator Enoch Wambua, MP, and the statement regarding the delayed payment of the Kenya Railways pensions by Senator Mwaruma Jones, MP. On Thursday, 2nd May 2024, the committee will meet with the management of the National Fund for the Disabled of Kenya on the legal structure and operations of the fund. And on Thursday, 7th, 2024, the committee will meet with the Ministry of Youth Affairs, Creative Economy and Sports on the various statements before the committees. Honorable Speaker, the committee has considered the following proposals and recommended them for publication. 1, the Labor Relations Amendment Bill 2024 by Senator Eddie Okech, MP, the Labor Relations Amendment Bill 2024 by Senator Miraj Abdurrahman, MP, and the Sports Amendment Bill 2024 by Senator Professor Tom Ojeda, MP, and Senator Rafael Chimera, MP. On bills, Honorable Speaker, during this reporting period, the committee considered the Gambling Control Bill, National Bills number 70 of 2023, and tabled reports on the bill. The committee also considered the Public Service Values and Principles Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bills number 46 of 2022, and tabled its report on the same. Honorable Speaker, the committee is scheduled to hold various stakeholder engagements with its stakeholders, including the Ministry of Public Service, Performance and Delivery Management, State Department of Gender, the State Department of Social Protection, and National Council of Persons with Disabilities on various issues at its mandate. Mr. Speaker, sir, in conclusion, I wish to thank your office and the office of the Clerk of the Senate for the continuous support accorded to the committee in undertaking its work. Lastly, I wish to thank the members of the committee for their commitment and diligence in and contributions during the committee's activities. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The Chairperson, Standing Committee on Agriculture.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 56(1)B of the Senate Standing Orders to make a statement related to the activities of the Standing Committee on Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries during the first part of land session, that is January to April 2024. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Senate Standing Committee on Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries established under Standing Order 2228(3), the Senate Standing Orders, and is mandated to consider all matters relating to agriculture, irrigation, livestock, fisheries development, and veterinary services. During the period under review, the committee held a total of 27 sittings, during which it considered 3 bills, 20 statements, 2 public petitions, and tabled 1 report. Honorable Speaker, during the period under review, the committee did not consider any legislative proposal bills. Honorable Speaker, during the period under review, the committee considered the following 2 bills. A, the Sugar Bill 2022, National Assembly Bill number 34 of 20. (118) of the Constitution and Standing Order 145(5) of the Senate Standing Orders through a public advert request written memoranda. The committee received submissions from the Council of Governors, Nature Kenya, and the Royal Society of Kenya. The committee will conduct public participation on the bill in various counties from 2nd to 13 May 2024. C. Rice Bill 2023, Senate Bill number 19 of 2023. The Rice Bill 2023, Senate Bill number 19 of 2023, was read a first time on 4th May 2023. The facilitated public participation pursuant to the provision of Article 118 of the Constitution and Standing Order 45 of the Senate Standing Orders through a public advert requesting written memoranda. The committee will conduct public participation on the bill in rice-growing counties and thereafter table its report. Statements. Mr. Speaker, sir, during the period under review, 20 statements were sought from the committee. The committee has concluded 9 statements, having received responses which were shared with the requesting senator who are satisfied with the responses. The statements are: A, statement on provision of agricultural extension service in Kisumu County by Senator Professor Tom Ojeda MP. B, statement on the state of coffee industry in Kisumu County by Senator Professor Tom Ojeda MP. C, statement on delaying payment to enumerators and village elders engaged in data collection for the farmers registration exercise in Nyandarua County by Senator John Medho MP. D, statement on the statement on promotion of fish farming in Kisumu County requested by Senator Professor Tom Ojeda. E, statement on the distribution of maize dryers to farmers by Senator Alan Chesang MP. F, statement on alleged shortage of certified seed supply to farmers by Senator Alexander Munyi Mundigi MP. G, statement on the state of the livestock sector in Kenya by Senator Abbas Sheikh MP. H, statement on subsidization of farm input by the government by Senator Alan Chezang MP, and I, statement on the shortage of suitable fertilizer and seed varieties for farmer in Bungoma, counted by Senator David Wakoli, MP, response shared with Senator, but yet to state if satisfied or not. Mr. Speaker, sir, the following 9 statements are yet to be responded to by the Minister of Agriculture, Minister of Water, Sanitation and Irrigation, and Governor from Kakamega County. A, statement on safeguarding the stability of the agriculture sector by Senator Julius Murgo, MP. Statement on the Stone Government Irrigation Project in Embu County by Senator Alexander Munyi Mondege. C, statement on the planned importation of sugar by Senator Edwin Sifuna, MP. D, statement on the non-implementation of the presidential order on the establishment of the National Livestock Development and Promotion Service by Senator Ampashek, MP. E, statement on the failure to compensate farmers in Embu County by Senator Alexander Munyi Mondege, MP. F, statement on distribution of subsidized fertilizer to farmers in the North Rift and other parts of the county by Senator Samson Cheragay, MP. G, statement on the purchase of cereals by National Cereals Board and Produce Board from the farmers in Embu by County Senator Alexander Munyi Mondege. H, statement on the distribution of fake fertilizer to farmers in Kakamega County and various parts of the county by Senator Dr. Bon Harwara, MP. And I, statement on the completion of Isiolo Export Abattoir by Senator Fatuma Nduro, CBS, MP. Mr. Speaker, sir, the following 2 statements have been exported and shared with the senators, but the senators are not satisfied. A, statement on the vaccine production and distribution at the Kenya Veterinary Production Institute by Senator Mohamed Chute, MP. And B, statement on existence of artificial insemination AI goat center in Ahiti Ndomba in Kirinyaga County by Senator Mohamed Chute, MP. The committee will hold a meeting with Kenya Veterinary Production Institute to conclude with and address the question raised in the statement. Petitions. Mr. Speaker, sir, the committee considered 2 petitions. A, petition on the Ethics and Corruption Commission EACC graft investigation on the West Kano irrigation scheme, and B, petition on the catastrophic maize disease that farmers in Bomet County have endured for the last 12 years. On the petition regarding the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission EACC graft investigation on the West Kano irrigation scheme, the committee has met with the petitioner, Chairperson Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, then Governor Kisumu County, and the leadership of the West Kano Scheme Cooperative Society, who had been adversely mentioned. The committee considered the submission from the Kenya National Trading Corporation, KNTC, and the National Irrigation Authority, and resolved to invite the stakeholders involved to another meeting scheduled for 23rd April 2024. Mr. Speaker, sir, on the petition regarding the catastrophic maize disease that farmers in Bomet have endured for the last 12 years, the committee has met with the petitioner and will invite the stakeholders on 30th April 2024, and thereafter visit Bomet and Nandi counties. Stakeholders engagement. Mr. Speaker, sir, the committee attended a high-level parliamentary meeting on enhancing agri-food system transformation on 1st to 2nd February 2024, and the workshop on agriculture produces and other market-related levies on 22nd and 23rd March 2024. Inquiry. Mr. Speaker, sir, the committee is conducting an inquiry into the distribution of fake fertilizer in various parts of the county. The members of the committee watched an expo titled "The Fertile Inception" by the African Incessant. Following this, the committee resolved to visit depots in various counties and also met with the affected farmers from these counties. The committee thereafter met with the Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Agriculture and Livestock Development, National Cereals and Produce Board, Kenya National Trading Corporation, and Sirka Booster Innovate Manufacturer Limited. The committee will this Friday, that is tomorrow, April, meet with Kenya Bureau of Standards, Kelo Chemicals, MEMS Distributor Limited, and all the companies applying the fertilizer and the National Government Fertilizer Subsidy Program, and thereafter table its report. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, I wish to thank your office and that of the clerk of the Senate for the continuous support according to the committee in undertaking its work. Lastly, I also wish to thank the members of the committee for their commitment and diligence in the contribution during the committee activity. Thank you very much. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Signed by Senator James Kamau Murango, Chairperson Standing Committee on Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries.
Chairperson Standing Committee on Health. Senator Mandago, I thought I saw Senator Mandago in the House. Proceed, Senator.
Honorable Speaker, statement relating to the activities of the Standing Committee of Health from 13 February 2024 to 28 March 2024, pursuant to Standing Order number 56(1)B of the Senate Standing Orders. Honorable Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order number 56(1)B of the Senate Standing Orders to make a statement relating to the activities of the Standing Committee on Health during the Part 1 of the third session of the 13th Parliament. Honorable Speaker, the Standing Committee on Health is established under Standing Order 223 of the Senate Standing Orders and is mandated to consider all matters relating to the medical services, public health, and sanitation. During the period under review, the committee held 16 sittings, during which it considered one bill, one inquiry, undertook one county visit, and held one stakeholder engagement. On the bills, Honorable Speaker, during the period under review, the Cancer Prevention and Control Amendment number 2 Bill of the National Assembly Bills number 45 of 2022 was committed to the committee on Thursday, 28 March 2024. The committee awaits memoranda submissions for consideration and intends to lay its report thereafter. Honorable Speaker, the committee concluded on the following bills, and the reports are undergoing approval process for tabling by Tuesday, 23rd April 2024. The Community Health Services Bill, Senate Bills number 4 of 2023, the Maternal, Newborn and Child Bill 2023, Senate Bills number 17 of 2023, and the e-Health Bill, Senate Bill number 32 of 2023. On petitions, Honorable Speaker, the committee has concluded its consideration of the petition by Kenyatta University medical students on the engagement and use of Kenyatta University Teaching and Referral and Research Hospital, KUTTRH, by medical students at Kenyatta University. A report on this has been compiled and is awaiting adoption by the committee. On the statements, Honorable Speaker, during the period under review, the committee considered and sought responses on the following 10 statements as follows. Statement by Senator Amida Kibwana, MP, on the circumstances that led to the amputation of baby Jennifer Mwasi's hand at Wesu Hospital in Taita Taveta County. Statement by Senator Amida Kibwana, MP, on the absence of data bank for unclaimed bodies in Kenya. Statement by Senator Joe Nyotu, MP, on the state of medical equipment supplied by Mecascope to level 5 hospitals across the country. Statement by Senator Fatuma Dulo, MP, on the operational state of the Isiolo County Referral Hospital morgue. Statement by Senator David Wakoli, MP, on the assessment of policy on the availability and supply of medical oxygen in Kenya. Statement by Senator Gloria Oropa, MP, on the inadequate bed capacity at Mbagathi and Mama Lucy hospitals in Nairobi City County. Statement by Senator Kadhuri Murungi, MP, on the delayed remittances of funds by the defunct National Hospital Insurance Fund to health facilities. Statement by Senator George Mbugua, MP, on the expected impact of trained and experienced nurses seeking jobs abroad on nursing services in hospitals countrywide. Statement by Senator Joseph Kamau Kiduku, MP, on the poor state of health care in Lamu County. And statement by Senator Miraj Abdulrahman, MP, on the healthcare provision to teenage and adolescent mothers in public healthcare facilities. The statements are pending consideration by the committee. Correspondences on the pending statements have been forwarded to the relevant stakeholders and are awaiting response. Honorable Speaker, on inquiries, during the period under review, the committee finalized its inquiry into alleged irregularities in the procurement of long-lasting insecticide nets at the Kenya Medical Supplies Authority, KEMSA. A report on this has been compiled and is waiting adoption by the committee. Honorable Speaker, further to the above, the committee has resolved to open inquiries into the following topical issues during this session. Inquiry into the access and provision of oxygen in emergency care facilities in the country. Inquiry into the circumstances that led to the amputation of baby Yasir Ridwan's fingers at Kerukoya County Referral Hospital. Inquiry into the death of Wakili Masharia JM at Muranga Level 4 Hospital. An inquiry into the pending bills and fraudulent claims at the National Hospital Insurance Fund. Inquiry into the exchequer funding for the delivery of community health services by non-state actors. Honorable Speaker, on stakeholder engagements and workshops, during the period under review, the committee, in collaboration with the Senate Liaison Office, held one stakeholder engagement with Westminster Foundation for Democracy, a United Kingdom public body dedicated to supporting democracy around the world and working with parliaments, political parties, and civil society groups to help make countries' political systems fairer, more inclusive, accountable, and transparent. In its quest to implement post-legislative scrutiny as monitoring and evaluation tool on health-related laws, not only on national laws, but also county laws, with particular focus on the Health Act 2017. Honorable Speaker, on county visits, ordinarily committees execute the bulk of their work in committee rooms within the presence of Parliament. However, occasions do arise when it is necessary to augment the evidence gathered within the presence with site visits. The site visits, apart from providing first-hand evidence, do avail the opportunity for intensive oversight and extended public participation. Accordingly, during the second session, the committee undertook inspection and familiarization visits to 7 counties, including Kisii, Nyamira, Bomet, West Pokot, Trans Nzoia, and Turkana County. Honorable Speaker, the reports of the said visits have been compiled and are awaiting adoption by the committee. The committee further commits to undertake additional visits of all the remaining counties during the 3rd and 4th sessions. Moreover, on Monday, 25th March 2024, the committee undertook an inspection and familiarization visit to Nairobi City County, arising from the statements sought by fellow honorable members and the general outcry of deplorable state of healthcare services in certain health facilities in Nairobi County. The committee intends to undertake another visit to Nairobi City County, and thereafter will present its findings to the House. In conclusion, Honorable Speaker, I wish to thank your office for the support accorded to the committee in undertaking its work, the office of the clerk. I also wish to acknowledge the support of the honorable members of the committee and this House for the support. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Statements pursuant to Standing Order 52, the Honorable Munyihaji Faki.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika, nimesimama kuambatana na kifungu cha 52(1) cha kanuni za kudumu za Bunge la Senate kutoa taarifa kuhusiana na hali ngumu ya kazi na unyanyasaji wa wafanyikazi wa Export Processing Zones, yani EPZ. Mheshimiwa Spika, nimesimama kwa mujibu wa kanuni za kudumu ya 52(1) kutoa kauli kuhusu jambo linalohusu kaunti nzima kuhusiana na hali ngumu za kazi na kunyanyaswa kwa wafanyakazi wa Export Processing Zones, hususan wafanyakazi wa kampuni ya Ashton Apparels mjini Mombasa. Mheshimiwa Spika, kuna mashirika mengi ambayo yamefungua biashara ya nguo ili kusafirisha kwenda masoko ya Marekani kupitia kwa mpango wa AGOA, ambao ni sera maalum ya serikali ya Marekani inayochukua bidhaa kutoka nchi za Kiafrika. Lakini fursa hii imekuwa ni sababu ya baadhi ya mashirika yanayofaidi kutokana na mpango huu kukandamiza haki za wafanyakazi, hivyo basi kuhujumu sekta hii ambayo inatoa ajira kwa Wakenya wengi. Mheshimiwa Spika, kumekuwa na visa tele vya ukandamizaji wa haki za wafanyakazi mikononi mwa mashirika hayo kama ifuatavyo. Kwanza, kuzuiliwa kwa wafanyakazi kujiunga na chama cha kutetea haki zao na kupelekea waliojiunga na vyama hivyo kupoteza kazi zao. Pili, Mheshimiwa Spika, hujuma za kijinsia ambazo kina dada wanalazimishwa kushiriki tendo la ngono na waajiri au wasimamizi wa kampuni ili kupata ajira. Tatu, kufanyishwa kazi kwa muda mrefu bila ya kupewa barua za uajiri, Mheshimiwa Spika. 4, ubaguzi wa ukabila ambapo jamii moja pekee ndio inafanya kazi katika kitengo kimoja au kitengo maalum kwa kampuni hiyo. Mheshimiwa Spika, ya 5, kufanyishwa kazi kwa muda mrefu katika mazingira duni yenye msongamano na vumbi kupelekea afya za wafanyakazi kuwepo hatarini na kupata magonjwa. Mheshimiwa Spika, mishahara duni inayolipwa na mashirika hayo pia ni basi kunyanyasa Wakenya, na pia hali tete iliyopo katika mashirika hayo ambapo wafanyakazi hawajui hatima ya siku ya baadaye. Mheshimiwa Spika, majuzi wafanyakazi wa kampuni ya Ashton Apparels iliyoko katika eneo bunge la Changamwe mjini Mombasa walifanya mgomo kutetea haki yao ya kujiunga na chama cha wafanyakazi. Wafanyakazi hao, Mheshimiwa Spika, walitumuliwa na maafisa wa polisi wakisaidiwa na naibu kamishna wa kata ndogo ya Changamwe bila ya kuwa na kosa lolote. Licha ya viongozi wa Mombasa, Mheshimiwa Spika, kuingilia swala hilo, shirika limekataa kukubaliana na wafanyakazi na hivyo basi kupelekea wafanyakazi 2000 kusimamishwa kazi. Mheshimiwa Spika, serikali ya Marekani inazingatia kwa makini haki za wafanyakazi, na iwapo swala hili halitatatuliwa kwa haraka, Kenya iko hatarini kupoteza fursa hii ya mpango wa AGOA ambao ni muhimu vile vile kwa uchumi wa taifa. Tayari Mheshimiwa Spika, nchi kadhaa za bara Asia zimepoteza fursa hii kama vile fursa hii kwa sababu ya kutozingatia haki za wafanyakazi. Hili swala Mheshimiwa Spika ni zito ambalo linapendekeza kamati ya kudumu ya leba na ustawi wa jamii ifuatilie ili wafanyakazi wasidhulumiwe. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika.
Statement pursuant to Standing Order 53-1. Honorable Karen Nyambu.
I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Roads, Transportation and Housing regarding the traffic congestions in Nairobi City and its environs. In the statement, the committee should state the major causes of traffic congestion in Nairobi City County and its environs, highlighting the roles played by the public service vehicles, private motorists, and other classes of vehicles in increasing the congestion. Report on initiatives undertaken by both the national and county governments to alleviate the traffic congestion in the city, considering the negative impact of traffic jams on productivity and the economy. Provide an update on the progress of the implementation of the Bus Rapid Transit System, the BRT project, including the total project expenditure to date, the contracted companies responsible for the project execution, and the projected timelines for completion and handing over for public use. Outline any measures implemented by the government to increase availability of parking spaces within the Nairobi City County. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Statement pursuant to Standing Order 57-1. The Majority Leader.
My apologies, Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order number 57-1 to hereby present the business of the Senate for the week commencing 23rd of April 2024. Before I present this statement, allow me to use this opportunity to welcome colleague senators back from the short recess period. I believe that we have some time to meet our constituents, spend time with our families and friends, rejuvenated over both the Easter and Ramadan holidays, and are now ready to work for the people of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, sir, at the close of the first part of the third session, 36 bills were pending conclusion in the Senate. Over the last 2 days, 5 other bills were read a first time, and in addition to the one in the order paper today, 42 bills will be pending before the Senate. Out of these bills, 10 bills have been scheduled at order number 8 to 18 in today's order paper. From the foregoing, we have resumed regular sittings with our in-tray already full. Let us redouble our efforts collectively and individually, whether in the committee or in plenary, to ensure that the business before the Senate is dispensed with expeditiously. Mr. Speaker, sir, with respect to other businesses before the Senate, 15 motions are pending conclusion, while 24 petitions are pending before the respective standing committees. Additionally, 336 statements are pending before the respective standing committees, and I urge committees to responsible for the petitions to and statements to expeditiously conclude these matters. Mr. Speaker, sir, I can see the Deputy Minority Whip and the Majority Whip. I think he has stepped out, but he was here. I want to urge the officers of the whips to assist us next week, because this week we have not succeeded to carry out any delegation needing votes due to quorum hitches. Therefore, I want to humbly request, or direct, not request, Mr. Speaker, Senator Sifuna, yes, and Senator Boni Halwale, to do their best to ensure that this Senate lives up to its billing, Madam Speaker.
Senator
Mr. Speaker.
Sifuna, that was in good faith, honestly. Proceed,
I-
Majority Leader.
I don't want to make another positive comment on Senator Sifuna because I'm not sure whether he will understand or he will challenge me again, Mr. Speaker. At its meeting held on Tuesday, 16th April 2024, the Senate Business Committee approved the next set of questions to be scheduled in the order paper for Wednesday, 24th of April 2024. The summary of the questions at the Cabinet Secretary to appear as follows. Question number 25, the CS for Gender, Culture, Arts and Heritage by Senator James Murango on the establishment of public libraries in 47 counties. Question number 37, to the CS for Foreign Affairs by Senator Dr. Boni Alwale on the welfare of Kenyans working in the Gulf states. Question number 40, to the CS for Foreign Affairs by Senator Ojenda on the obligations of government of Kenya in the to Kenyans in the diaspora who faced arrest, detention, or deportation. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, I take this opportunity to appreciate all honorable senators for the vigor and display at the start of the second part of the session and to encourage the same spirit throughout this part of the session. I thank you and do hereby lay the statement on the table of the Senate today, Thursday, the 18th of April, 2024. I thank you.
Next order.
Order number 8, the Land Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bills number 40 of 2022, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to amend the Land Act, Cap 280.
Now, honorable senators, you will allow me to rearrange the sequence of today's order paper. We will proceed to order number 13. Dispense with that before we resume the natural flow of today's order paper. Clerk, proceed to call that order, please.
Order number 13, the Gambling Control Bill, National Assembly Bills number 70 of 2023.
At the interruption of debate, Senator Danson Mungatana had the floor and he had a balance of 13 minutes. He's not in the House, so we will proceed. Senator Asige Crystal.
Thank you very much, Speaker, though I had pressed the microphone to give comments on the statements just read.
Senator Oroba. Senator Onyonka. All right, then. I will call upon the mover to reply.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank colleagues who took time to speak to this very important bill. This is an important industry, Mr. Speaker, and it is important that I mention because Senator Sifuna decided to take my comments yesterday out of context when I said that I don't understand gambling, Mr. Speaker, and decided to say that I'm passing a bill that I have no idea what it is about. Of course, he chose to misinterpret my comments, Mr. Speaker, but I am sure the only thing that he knows better than me in that industry is how to place a bet. Beyond that, Mr. Speaker, we are the same. Because as I explained, Mr. Speaker, this is a very complex industry, which many of our young people find themselves engaged in one way or the other. And it is important because in this house you have, apart from being leaders, we are also parents, many of us. In fact, some of us have children the age of Senator Sifuna and I, and they are members in this house, Mr. Speaker, that we must pass legislation that secures the prosperity of our future generations. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, I am particularly impressed that the setting up of this authority, like many colleagues did agree, will actually help to curtail bad betting and gambling behaviors, Mr. Speaker, that is creeping into our society. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am extremely glad also that many of the colleagues who spoke on this matter agreed that they shall actually be sponsoring amendments with regards to particularly two issues that are raised. One is on the fines for violations of various provisions of this bill, Mr. Speaker, which we all agree was too low Mr. Speaker, to force compliance at 1 million shillings. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, was to conform the board to the tenets of devolution and ensure that the Council of Governors has better representation than what is presently in the bill. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I want to take this opportunity to urge those colleagues who have promised to file these amendments to do so. I intend to perhaps progress the bill later on next week, subject to the membership of the House being quorate to ensure that we have enough numbers. But before then, I want to request all those that made their submissions and in one way or the other felt that the bill would have been better if this or the other aspect of it was changed. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, with those very many remarks, I beg to reply, Mr. Speaker, in accordance to Standing Order number 66.3, I beg to request that you defer the putting of the question until a later time. I thank you.
Very well. The division on this particular bill is deferred to a later date. We will proceed with order number 14. Clerk, proceed to call that order, please.
Order number 14, the County Government's Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 25 of 2023. Second reading.
Senator Chirange.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I rise to move the bill, the County Government's Amendment Bill 2023. Mr. Speaker, by saying this is a very straightforward amendment, and thank you for giving me opportunity to move. I've been waiting long, but I understand the order of the business keep changing, Mr. Speaker. And this is just a way of improving and enhancing and widening and deepening devolution, Mr. Speaker. And that is why members of public who watch us, when we make laws, Mr. Speaker, they should understand that we can make and amend at the same time. We can review because we are the lawmakers. The Constitution, Mr. Speaker, envisages us as the Senate and Parliament of the Republic of Kenya, as per Article 93, Mr. Speaker, that we have power to amend. Mr. Speaker, and therefore, the reason we have power of lawmaking is because we exercise the power on behalf of the people of the Republic of Kenya. Each of us, 47 delegations, includes our nominated. We exercise that authority. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, we are the apex of democracy and exercising the free will of the people, Mr. Speaker. So yesterday I had somebody within Parliament trying to issue gagging orders for some of us not to speak about the welfare or concerns that we have, Mr. Speaker. I want to put it without fear of contradiction. There were many people who tried to intimidate us in our previous life, Mr. Speaker. Some of us, Mr. Speaker, were arrested, persecuted, prosecuted. But I want to inform them the price of intimidation and blackmail is zero, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, there is no gagging orders, Mr. Speaker. If there is something wrong, if there is no water in the chamber, we have a right to ask questions about it, Mr. Speaker. You cannot or threaten any member of Parliament with being taken to powers and privileges, Mr. Speaker, for asking what rightfully belongs to them, Mr. Speaker. So I want to call upon, because all of us are brothers and sisters in this House, that if there are gagging orders from you or any other individual from the lower house, Mr. Speaker, then they should inform us in advance. We don't want, Mr. Speaker, to operate with the principle of monkey. Hear nothing, see nothing, and say nothing. Then why are we elected through a democratic process, Mr. Speaker? That is why I must insist, Mr. Speaker, let us always have a conversation on many issues surrounding the running of this Parliament, Mr. Speaker, at any given time.
Senator Fernandi, are you making a statement pursuant to Standing Order 52, or you're moving your bill, your amendments bill?
Mr. Speaker, I am building the basis of moving my amendment bill, Mr. Speaker.
There is no relationship.
It is there.
Just go ahead and move your bill, please.
Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, we shall keep asking the questions about the Bunge Towers as long as something is wrong. Mr. Speaker, in the second limb that I wanted to say, and Mr. Speaker, on that note, why are the guilty afraid? Let the people who should carry the cross when they need be. But I've not
What
said
is your
anything.
point of order, Senator Sifuna?
Mr. Speaker, is the Senator Fernandi in order to impute ill motives on members of this House? And I would want him to clarify who are these guilty that are afraid when this discussion on members' welfare is being alleged. Mr. Speaker, I hope he's not referring to the chair, which would be something terrible to do. So please, can you clarify on who are these people who are afraid of discussions regarding the welfare of members?
Senator Fernandi, can we proceed to lay bare the names of those who are guilty?
Mr. Speaker.
In the event that you cannot, you may proceed to withdraw that particular statement.
Mr. Speaker, I didn't look for a time in my life here in the floor that Senator Sifuna would be defending you. But that one being said and done, Mr. Speaker, I didn't mean...
one of those who are feeling guilty?
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, it is just a euphemism, is it? A saying, Mr. Speaker, by saying there are people who are, they're afraid are always, the guilty are always afraid. I didn't mention any name, even the answer can bear. But if it is misunderstood, I withdraw that statement, Mr. Speaker, and replace that people. Why, Mr. Speaker, why is Senator Sifuna smiling today? Mr. Speaker, and you know you have been told Uhuru Park cannot be used for political rallies. I hope he's aware. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, I am replacing by saying everyone within file and rank of running of parliament, including us, even at the level of committee, should be ready to answer questions. That's what I meant, Mr. Speaker. And we are asking these questions for welfare of ourselves, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in moving this bill, I want to say our business, Mr. Speaker, our business is just to do the lawmaking. Mr. Speaker, let us do the lawmaking. Let us ensure that we give opportunity to members of parliament to do their job. In this amendment, we continue under the County Government's Amendment Bill 2023, Mr. Speaker. I know Senator of Kiambu had an impeachment procedure bill. But even as we wait, Mr. Speaker, for that bill to come, when you look at this amendment, basically, Mr. Speaker, is to ensure, is to increase the threshold for removal of a member of County Executive Committee. Mr. Speaker, I know you, being the Governor Emeritus of Kilifi County, Senator Mandaguf being of Androba, being governors, Mr. Speaker, you understand what it means to have stability and prediction in terms of your committee executive members. And we are just, Mr. Speaker, for understanding of members, we are just rationalizing with the national legislation, Mr. Speaker. Because when you say a third, if you have maybe 80 members, it means 10 of them can just sign and remove that member, CCM, Mr. Speaker. So we are trying to look and rationalize with the National Assembly, not with the national legislation. Because there is a threshold before you impeach or vote of no confidence against a cabinet secretary. So what we are doing, Mr. Speaker, is just to rationalize both so that it becomes easy, Mr. Speaker, especially so that we bring stability. By the way, Mr. Speaker, in as much as we do oversight against or for county governments and other independent institutions, Mr. Speaker, our goal is not to stifle the flourishing and expansion, Mr. Speaker, of some of the growth of devolution, Mr. Speaker. We want stability, we want predictability, so that when we do oversight, Mr. Speaker, we can therefore do oversight. And this one does not mean that the MCS will always have power to summon CCM to appear before them. Even chief officers, Mr. Speaker. Even director of various departments within the county government structure, Mr. Speaker. So what we are just doing is putting a game that has rules, Mr. Speaker. We are putting a stopgap so that it is not open to abuse, Mr. Speaker. You can imagine if it was a third to give a vote of no confidence against a cabinet secretary, Mr. Speaker, against 365 members of National Assembly. So if you are to do 365 and you choose is it 365? I think it's 365. You have to do a third of 365. How many CSs have gone home? And therefore, we want just to realize, I don't know, are there CSs who are supposed to go home? I don't know. But I'm just saying, Mr. Speaker, it will be an abuse. And when you look at the amendment of section 40, Mr. Speaker, is in essence trying in removal of a member of executive, county governments number 17 of 2012. It talks about removal of member of a county executive. Of course, the grounds has been laid, Mr. Speaker. Then section 42 says a member of county assembly supported by at least 1/3 of all members of county assembly may propose a motion requiring the governor to dismiss as county executive member, committee member on any of the grounds set up in subsection 1. Mr. Speaker, and therefore, if a motion subsection 2 is supported by at least 1/3 of the members of the county assembly shall appoint a select committee, of course, in the process, 5 members to investigate the matter, Mr. Speaker. So looking at the threshold, we need to rationalize so that, Mr. Speaker, all these are political process. The removal of a CCM, the vote of no confidence, impeachment, Mr. Speaker, right to recall, these are mostly political processes that try to bring accountability in the offices that you hold. Because, Mr. Speaker, when you swear an oath before in Parliament or any other place, Mr. Speaker, you are uphold to protect the rule of law. So how do we ensure that, and you know, Mr. Speaker, in another limb, this is a way of checks and balances. Because how do you checks and balance? One of the ways is to remove somebody who is incompetent in office. Sometimes is to reprimand, sometimes is to recall, sometimes is to show cause, sometimes is to interdict. And some of those aspects that are being given, Mr. Speaker. And I want to thank the Committee of Devolution led by my brother, senior brother, chairperson of Devolution, Mohammed Abbas, for doing a good job, Mr. Speaker, especially on this amendment. And therefore, we are proposing, Mr. Speaker, to delete 1/3 appearing afterwards and replace at least the words majority. And I know that has been used before, or a majority, in Part A, Mr. Speaker, removing the 2/3. Not 2/3, removing the 1/3 to put it into a majority. So if you are members of County Assembly, Nairobi County Assembly, Mr. Speaker, they are around, I think, 80. Mr. Speaker, and I am told there is a viral video, Mr. Speaker, of the Speaker of Nairobi County Assembly hugging forcefully or trying to hug forcefully a member of Parliament or member of MCA. And Mr. Speaker, it has caused consternation across the nation. So we want to also advise MCAs not to be forcing people or hugging people forcefully, because it can cause a lot of consternation, Mr. Speaker. And I know people like Senator Orwoba were up in arms in social media over that issue. So, Speaker, so the issue that we want to ensure is the majority. So if members of County Assembly in Nairobi, let's say they are 80, for example, majority of them will be around 50 to 60 MCAs to sign that removal process, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, it ensures stability of your cabinet, Mr. Speaker. Because most of the MCAs fear the governor, but they don't fear CCM, CEOs, or Director of Finance, Mr. Speaker. So they will let her go for low-hanging fruits in quotes by looking for your CCM, and by them, Mr. Speaker, they can end up undermining and frustrating your development agenda as the governor of that region or that county, Mr. Speaker. On Part B is deleting the words at least 1/3 and substituting with majority, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, I think in resolution, this is just a process we are rationalizing. When you look at the parent act, it talks about the Speaker of the House shall promptly deliver the resolution of the governor. So, for example, the member has the right to appear and be represented. Of course, Mr. Speaker, just for members to grasp what we are just saying is we should subject you to principles of natural justice, Mr. Speaker, through you, and ensure that right to appear, the way we normally do it here, Mr. Speaker, in short, is you appear, you defend yourself, if you have a legal representative. Those are principles of right of representation. And the committee you appear, of course, the parent act has provided, if they are substantiated during the county member to be the county assembly shall vote whether to approve the resolution requiring the county executive committee member to be dismissed. And if a resolution, so we are deleting in subsection 6, Mr. Speaker, by deleting a words, a majority appearing after the word supported, and therefore with at least 2/3. So that the threshold should be very high, Mr. Speaker, so that we ensure also there is a due diligence, Mr. Speaker. We know in these offices, I remember, Mr. Speaker, we have sat and Senator Sifuna is a member of Public Accounts Committee. It is hard, even in the last session, Mr. Speaker, and you have been a governor, it is hard to have a clerk of a county assembly who has survived long. Unless that clerk is a unique creature. Mr. Speaker, because the threshold of reforming such is very easy, Mr. Speaker. Even the issue of CCM, you need also stability as a governor to ensure that your CCMs are not intimidated, Mr. Speaker. I can tell you a number of county executives, a number of CEOs, a number of directors in various departments within county structure. They always live in fear of being undermined or being targeted, either politically. Mr. Speaker, you are aware, there is a lot of political witch hunt in these offices we hold. It is that members of parliament, to recall them through right of recall is not easy, as many people want to imagine. To recall a member of parliament, both senior learned friends, Senator Faki and Senator Manzo, as it is an Herculean task. I remember, Mr. Speaker, when Senator Mwaura, the current government spokesman, Senator Millicent Omanga, Mama Miradi, Senator, the late, may his soul rest in peace, Senator Brengei, a number of senators during the war in courts under the arrangement of Anshik, Mr. Speaker, had been removed by Jubilee. But when they wanted, they had been removed, and yet it was hard to remove them. So you can imagine a recall of an elected person. So our stopgap measure, Mr. Speaker, is so protected that we are not exposed too much as opposed to appointed positions, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, that is the essence of this bill. This is a straightforward amendment bill. I want to ask my colleagues, please, let us ensure that we espouse the issues of national values, public power. The principles include good governance and integrity, Mr. Speaker. And of course, our main aim, Mr. Speaker, is the means of ensuring accountability in the exercise of public power, is the oversight members of SC by the legislature of both governments. And remember, CCM, Mr. Speaker, appeared both to county assemblies and Senate, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, as per Section 40, the county government provides for procedure for the removal. Office of the county is established by the Constitution. And noting the adverse consequence of removal of impeachment of a member of county executive. Mr. Speaker, in this House, we have a live example, a testimony by the name Miracle Senator of Kiambu, Senator Karungo Tangwa. He knows, and I hope, believe and pray that he will have a chance to say something about this bill, Mr. Speaker, because he's in the House. I know he has sponsored another bill on impeachment procedure bill, so that he can give us the experience, Mr. Speaker. You know, when you are removed or impeached, Mr. Speaker, the reason we are calling him Miracle Senator is because in his other life as CCM, he had been fought many battles, including being removed during Governor Waititu era. So, Speaker, if you remember, there was a governor in this country called Waititu, Babayao. And you cannot miss him on the streets of Nairobi, Mr. Speaker. He's a friendly man. So through those tribulations, there are people who walikuwa wamempangia at some point not to be elected. But he became a miracle senator by going through that. And this is because of this. Because by the time you recall somebody or impeach, you impeach Mr. Speaker, it almost threatened him not to be elected. And you know, even Governor Sonko, the immediate popular governor of Nairobi, Mr. Speaker, the consequence of his being impeached is so painful. You are staying out of office more than 10 years. And if Governor Sonko was even to contest in Mombasa County as a governor, to run for governor, Mr. Speaker, because the Supreme Court, the rule, he would have won to be the governor of Senator Faki at that point in time, Mr. Speaker. But this, Mr. Speaker, that is the pain of being impeached. So these are things we want to ensure. By the time you are impeached, let you have committed a serious offense and sin against man, against God, and against the Constitution of Kenya, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, thank you for this opportunity, and I hope this is a straightforward amendment. I want to ask my colleagues to allow us to process as much as possible. And with your permission, Mr. Speaker, as I beg to move, I request the chairperson, Senator Mohammed Abbas, one of the wisest senators on the floor of the House, Mr. Speaker, to second me. And I thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move. I request Senator Abbas.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I thank my friend Sharagay for giving me that kind of title. I think it's a very good praise, and I hope to meet that standard. Honorable Speaker, as the chair of the Committee of Devolution, we have gone through all the bills, all the acts in the law, and we found that a lot of lacunas that actually needs to be changed or improved. As he rightly said, the mover said, Honorables, the CECs, the County Executive Committee members, are actually people of high calibers. Some of them are being moved from other ministries. There are some of them come from private sectors. Some are actually having their own businesses. But however, when they are appointed, they work in an atmosphere of fear and intimidation, that they cannot deliver their work as required. Whatever qualification they may have, they are at the mercy of the politicians, especially the MCAs and the governor, who is the appointed authority. The threshold of a third is actually, we felt that does not give somebody security to work comfortably in this environment area, the way he works. And therefore, as you're aware, this equally happens, the deputy governors have also equally have the problem. Today, as I talked to you, I talked to this house, we have 21 cases where deputy governors are actually being threatened to be moved. And many speakers are actually under threat. Clerks equally the same. So I think if we continue the same trend, then devolution will not work properly. Then people work, will continue being intimidated. This kind of business of trying to impeach people also encourages corruption, and that's where you are seeing we are losing a lot of money in the counties. So therefore, we felt that as a committee, we need to change some of these laws so at least we can have a secure job security for all the members who are working under the county. The governor now has 2/3 threshold. So for the CECs, as the highest executive next to the governors and the deputy governor, also need to have security for their work. And therefore, Honourable Speaker, saved from interventions, so that at least they can be able to deliver. And with those few remarks, I beg to second.
Honourable Senators, I now propose the question that the County Government's Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 25 of 2023, be now read a second time. The Honourable Senator Manzo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to congratulate Senator Chiranke, the senator, for a great county for having, first of all, come up with this thought, and
for having drafted the bill very well, very professional. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the other, you know, the other thresholds, in all other laws affecting any other member is 2/3. If it is a removal of the president, if there's removal of speaker, if there's removal of a minister, it's 2/3. But when it comes to the CEC, then it is 1/3. It means even an opposition party in the county can remove a CEC they don't like. It means the majority party in the county can do away with a CEC on just one sitting, and therefore there's a need to balance or equalize. And even the standard world over is 2/3, and therefore this really is in line with the world practice and gives protection to any person who gets appointed to a position and then witch hunt finds them out of that. And an impeachment, Mr. Speaker, is a political process. The moment politics change, it becomes very easy to impeach officers or force them out of office while they had been guaranteed of a job or be able to earn a living. Mr. Speaker, when it also comes to the other procedures, like when you want to raise signatures to remove a member of parliament, the law is not clear what will happen to a senator. And unfortunately, currently, we don't have IBC. IBC then will process that. But still, the threshold is high. It is not as low as a third, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, this is a law which we should pass even without an amendment. It is very well drafted, and it is good for the nation so that we can safeguard the rights of other people and especially employment rights and safeguard them against political witch hunt. Mr. Speaker, I support.
Senator Aaron Cheriot.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, I didn't know that Senator Manzo once in a while can have so little to say on a particular topic. I know him to be a man of many opinions, but today is one such rare occasion. This is a straightforward bill, but I have a problem with it, Mr. Speaker. I have a problem with how we are amending this County Governments Act. In my life here in the Senate over the years, I have seen no less than maybe 10 or 12 amendments to the County Governments Act. And in a practical environment, Mr. Speaker, the application of its contents as an act of parliament is jeopardized by continuous amendment. Now, I think the only other bill that is amended as many times is the PFM. Nothing else, Mr. Speaker. I wish Senator Cherargei, and this is in order, I agree, if you make the threshold too low, yet the consequences are too severe, then we are not delivering justice. Senator Karugo Dhangwa nearly missed an opportunity to serve the people of Kiambu as their senator on account of just an impeachment. And I don't know what he had done. I don't know whether he was guilty or otherwise. But knowing him as a person, I know chances are must have been politics at play. But if that decision had been left to stand, then he would never have seen the four walls of Parliament. An impeachment process is not an easy thing. Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, those to whom that power is given don't treat it with the seriousness it deserves. An impeachment process, the same way it is done in this House, and I have seen more than 10 impeachments in this House, Mr. Speaker. It is just the things you do here as senators is what our MCAs do also. And I know members know what I mean when I say the things you do. Now imagine a situation where just the only thing that saves the day here is that you need at least half the members of this House for an impeachment process to go through. The threshold was extremely low in this particular instance. And therefore, I want to agree with the thinking to raise the threshold so that the threshold is a bit higher, and on flimsy grounds, somebody cannot just be removed as a CEC, so that people are able to take their duties. You can imagine, Mr. Speaker, with the diversity of our counties, if a member of a county executive committee, for example, was to fall out with MCAs, say, from a particular sub-county, on account of a decision that has been taken in the greater interest of the entire county, Mr. Speaker, you know what will happen is that that particular CEC, simply on the account of petty little politics, can lose their job, and yet you know up to now, we don't have sufficient jurisprudence on what happens when somebody is impeached. In fact, this afternoon I met Governor Sonko, one of the victims of an impeachment process of this House, where it was clearly demonstrated to us on this House that threshold was not achieved at the County Assembly of Nairobi. Yet, like I have explained earlier, there are many things that happen in an impeachment exercise. Senator Makueni knows this because he appeared here as advocate for Governor Sonko in that impeachment hearing. He knows what happened. And I'm not sure how Senator Wambua voted in that one, Mr. Speaker. But you know, Mr. Speaker, impeachments have become political processes, yet they have very serious legal and constitutional consequences. So we cannot afford to just allow that anybody, even this one of Senate, I want to still suggest that we need to exercise our mind better. The only unfortunate thing is that it is a constitutional threshold, because it doesn't matter the process. What matters at the end is when they eventually call Godfrey Osoti, Senator for Vihiga, then you rise and say, I vote yes or no. At the end of the day, there's no, it doesn't matter the process that it has gone through. Eventually, or you abstain, like many people, there are people who used to abstain here, Mr. Speaker, because of many other reasons. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I like the fact that we are raising the threshold so that, you know, two-thirds, by the time two-thirds of the Assembly is agreeing and concurring that something is wrong with you, then definitely something is a matter. But a third was too low a threshold. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I want to urge colleagues that we support this bill. I think it's a good thought, but like I have expressed concern, and I don't know if Senator Abbas is in the House. Yes, he is in the House. Senator Abbas, as our chair for Devolution Committee, there is something you must do for us. These piecemeal amendments of the County Governments Act are not good. Why do I say they are not good? Because you can imagine, after the passage and assent of this bill in both houses of parliament and it's assented to, you publish a new County Governments Act. I know there are others, I think even on the order paper or slightly later, draft legislative proposals to amend further the County Governments Act. I think it is better if Senator Abbas's Committee on Devolution can go through the entire breadth of that law, and with the experience now that this House has, where we have senators who are former governors, we have governors who are former senators, we have senators who have been MCAs and speakers, this House is not lacking in terms of the experience that is needed to understand the instruments and the operations of devolution in this country at this particular moment, so that you have a more comprehensive cleanup of that particular law. Remember, when that law was being drafted, nobody had practiced devolution in Kenya. But 12 years down the line, Mr. Speaker, we have learned. We know what can work, what can't work. You know, I personally, even as a majority leader, I have bills that are amending the County Governments Act, establishing the various leadership offices in our assemblies. This is part to the work that we did at the NADCO, Mr. Speaker. I wouldn't mind donating that contribution and that legislation to Senator Abbas's committee if they promise to be diligent and conclude on that exercise. There are so many other things, suggestions that we have been given, entrenchment of various offices in the county assembly, Mr. Speaker, so that you have a more comprehensive legislation, a bill that once it is done, then you know that it settles devolution for another maybe 4 or 5 years before you amend the County Government Act. Therefore, I want to pass on the challenge to Senator Abbas and their committee, because this is the Bible of devolution, the County Government's Act, and piecemeal amendments to it. We are not doing justice to those who practice using this law. Otherwise, Mr. Speaker, I want to appreciate the industry of Senator Cherargei in proposal of various legislations before the House. I don't agree with him on many other things, especially what he's trying to do with Bunge Towers. I know if there is somebody who contributed significantly in that particular House being there, I am one of those who contributed well, Mr. Speaker, because I served as a commissioner for 5 years, and we did the best that we could under very difficult circumstances. When we found Bunge Towers, Mr. Speaker, there was nothing other than a junkyard. By the time I left the commission, it was standing tall on the skylines of Nairobi. In fact, what Senator Kinyu and Joyce have done is just to apply paint and open the building. The real bulk of the work was done by the previous commission. I don't know why Senator Cherargei all of a sudden, I know he loves his office in KICC for reasons that I cannot discuss on the camera, Mr. Speaker. Why can't he remain in KICC without disparaging our very ultra-modern building of the Bunge Towers, Mr. Speaker? Because that building, I know it has state-of-the-art facilities, committee rooms that are modern. I know they have not concluded many of the things that need to be done there, but I know that that building is built well. The offices may not be as large as members would have wanted, but I know, and I don't know if that is still the plan because Kinyu and Joyce are not there. But I know that initially we were squeezing members into those offices, and they have been partitioned by, in a way that can easily be moved, to provide for space to renovate the current Continental House, so that eventually, now when you have sufficient space, Mr. Speaker, in both Continental House and Bunge Towers, members can have slightly larger offices, not what it is. That was the plan, at least by the time I was in the commission, Mr. Speaker, because Parliament spends close to 400 million each year paying for offices for members. It's not fair to taxpayers, Mr. Speaker. That's why we had to conclude that building so that we knock off that budget. That 400 million can easily be serve other pressing needs in the country, Mr. Speaker. Therefore, I agree with the decision of the Parliamentary Service Commission to conclude Bunge Towers. I will be there tomorrow at 8 o'clock to see my work because I participated in the coming together of that building. There are many things. I know they have a state-of-the-art gym, which I want now. Cherargei, you can run away from not having an office in Bunge Towers, but you must use the gym on that particular floor because it is extremely useful to all of us and healthy. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, with those very many remarks, I beg to support and urge colleagues to support this legislative proposal by Senator Cherargei. I thank you.
Senator Osotsi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity to contribute to this very important bill on the County Government Amendment Bill 2023 by Senator Cherargei that seeks to amend the current County Government Act so that to enhance the threshold of removal of a member of the county executive from 1/3 to 2/3 of the members of the county assembly. Mr. Speaker, just like my colleagues have said, this is a very straightforward bill, and this is long overdue. I think this bill is popular among the members because we have been having challenges in our counties that members of the executive, county executive, have not been able to carry out their duties very confidently and very effectively because they are always under the threat from MCAs of being removed from their position through impeachment. So with the enhancement of the threshold, I think that
will help them to focus on their job and deliver to the people in those counties. So this bill is very timely, and I also want to support the suggestion by the majority leader. I think it's long overdue for us to also develop the impeachment law, the law on removal of governors, because we have gaps, Mr. Speaker, and I think it's important we also have to tighten the process. We have seen in some cases, some of the documents that have been brought to us for impeachment, they have not been able to meet the appropriate threshold, and we have rejected those impeachments. So I think it's important for us to have a law that governs the whole process, not just for the governors, but even for the members of the county executive and the people who work below them. Impeachment, to me, impeachment is a good thing, and is also a bad thing. It's a good thing because it keeps the leaders in check, but it's also a bad thing because it can also be misused. And sometimes we wonder why we have so many impeachment motions coming against governors. But for the last, since devolution started, Mr. Speaker, we have not had any single cabinet secretary who has been removed from office via impeachment. We have not had any single president who has been removed from office via impeachment. But we have so many impeachment coming through from counties. I think we need to ask ourselves why. Because some of those guys who have been impeached by this House, they have committed lesser crimes than some of the people who are in the national executive, like cabinet secretaries, but they are left off the hook. So I think we need to be fair to every public servant so that when we exercise our powers of impeachment, that power must seem to have been exercised fairly and effectively. So, Mr. Speaker, this is a timely bill, but even as we seek to enhance the threshold of removal of county executive committee members, I think it's also important for them to perform their roles effectively. Some of the county executive committee members in most counties are not very diligent at their work. They have not delivered in their various portfolios. So we cannot continue sustaining such people, and we make it difficult for MCAs to remove them. Because you may find that some of them are very close to the governor, and removing them becomes a problem. So I think we need to look at the both ends. One is we enhance the threshold, but at the same time, how do we make them accountable to the MCAs? Because I think our role here, Mr. Speaker, is secondary oversight. But we also need to help the MCAs to perform the role of primary oversight effectively. And one way is by making the county executive committee members accountable to the county assemblies. So I am looking at it from both perspectives, and maybe the move of this motion, you need to look at that fact, that on one hand, we are making it difficult for MCAs to remove a member of the county executive. On the other hand, we could be encouraging impunity in our counties so that it becomes very difficult to remove incompetent county executive committee members or those who have just refused to do their job for one good reason, that they are friends of the governor. So I think we need a balance. So I support this bill, but on the other hand, I also want to encourage that we look at ways of enhancing primary oversight for MCAs. And one way is to make sure that this members of the county executive are also accountable. I have seen, like in my county, most of them are called. They are invited to appear before the county assemblies, and they ignore the summons. They ignore the summons. And the MCAs cannot do much because these people are friends and relative of some governors. So I think a lot needs to be looked at on that perspective so that we don't cripple MCAs, but also make them effective, but at the same time ensure that we maintain fairness to the county executive committee members. Mr. Speaker, I think we had said at some point that we need to fast track the impeachment law. But every time we finish an impeachment process, we somehow forget about that. I think even as we discuss this, I want to encourage that we have a look at that law so that we have a proper law that guides the process of impeachment. Mr. Speaker, the majority leader has said that we are making so many amendments to the County Government Act, and I think also the Public Finance Management Act, we are making so many amendments. Maybe it is a time that we need to have a holistic view of some of these laws that are attracting so many amendments, like the Powers and Privileges Act, Public Finance Management Act, County Government Act, and that one I've forgotten, but if I remember, I'll mention. So these laws, we have a proper view of these laws so that we can have a holistic approach and reduce the many amendments which are making the whole thing untidy. Mr. Speaker, on the building, now that the majority leader has talked about it, Mr. Speaker, whereas I want to agree with those members who are saying, I think it is important to question why that project has taken long. It is important to question why it has exceeded the budget. It is important, and these things cannot be swept under the carpet. They cannot be swept under the carpet. I was a bit perturbed when I heard the Speaker of the National Assembly cautioning members that we should not discuss this matter. Mr. Speaker, Parliament is a house of free speech, freedom of speech. I mean, we cannot be intimidated not to talk about our own welfare here. We cannot be intimidated. We have to talk about it. And you know, someone was saying, we want to see how Parliament will oversight itself. I think the relevant committee should do that. They should look at this matter. But on the other hand, Mr. Speaker, I agree on the suitability of the office. I have been to that office. I have been allocated an office. Mr. Speaker, I have never had an office like the one I have been given. So, I want to move into the new office like tomorrow. But at the same time, I'm questioning the other concerns that are being raised by the members and the general public on the length of time and the cost of the project. Mr. Speaker, I support this bill.
Senator Orwoba Magoma Gloria.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I had requested formally that I'm referred to as Senator Gloria Orwoba. I don't know whether they forgot to remove that name there in the middle. The one that I don't want, that one. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to support this bill by Senator Cherargei. Mr. Speaker, I have the privilege of coming from the corporate background. I have worked in various industries, in the field of architecture, construction, in the field of production, the creative industry. And one thing that is usually clear from the corporate world is that institutional memory is a key thing that is valued. So when I look at how some of these county governments are being run, you know, with a high turnover of staff members, it is really something that we have to legislate. And I'm happy that Senator Cherargei has brought this bill. Mr. Speaker, you know that a county executive member is a very senior position and has very high responsibility. These are the guys who are tasked with the duty of preparing county policies, budgeting, the budget planning, implementation of all the bylaws that are passed in the county assembly, and they are also there to give reports of the operations and the ongoings of the county government. When you look at this kind of responsibility, this is definitely a role that should be protected and should not be taken as a casual laborer. And hence, moving the threshold from 1/3 to 2/3 is not only something that we should do with the County Government Act. This is something that needs to be looked at, because if you look at how we are impeaching our cabinet secretaries, Mr. Speaker, the threshold for the cabinet secretary is 1/4. So therefore, that is also something that needs to be amended, because at the end of the day, it is not about whether 10 people or a handful of people do not like an individual. It is about how we are going to sustain the operations of that county government, Mr. Speaker. If you look at some of the advantages of retaining staff members, and this is now from my experience from the corporate world, you will see that it reduces lost knowledge, Mr. Speaker. It takes a long time for a new employee to come in, build relations so that they can be able to collaborate with stakeholders, and just about the time when they are ready to effectively implement their tasks, then you call for transfers and you call for impeaching of the CECs. Mr. Speaker, that actually has been a big hindrance in devolution. I'm not sure whether this Senate is aware that after we impeached the deputy governor of Kisii County, a county where I come from, it has been such a headache, and a political headache that is, but as well as a continuity headache, because the governor has proposed a name, the governor wants to move on with ensuring that the services are being provided to the people, but you find that because of that impeachment, a lot of issues have actually mushroomed, and we have a section of politicians running up and down in court ensuring that the next deputy governor is not impeached. And so we need to understand that it's not only the impeaching of that particular person in office, but what happens next has a huge effect in terms of the services that are being delivered to the people. Mr. Speaker, it's very sad that up until today, I think we are more than a month after the impeachment, my county, Kisii County, has been unable to swear in the nominated deputy governor. And perhaps, Senator Cherargei, when you're done with this one, I would challenge you, because it seems that you have a history of knowledge in terms of this kind of bills. I challenge you to also bring some amendments that will ensure that once the Senate, which is the upper house, Mr. Speaker, this is the upper house, once the Senate has actually executed a matter as grave as impeaching of a governor or a deputy governor, Mr. Speaker, there should not be all these other legal loopholes that are being explored by rogue politicians to ensure that the people of that particular county, for instance, the Kisii County, do not get the replacement of the impeached individual. In this case, the deputy governor. Mr. Speaker, as this bill is being tabled, one of the things that I think I would have as an amendment is how the continuity of, you know, you're talking about moving it from 1/3 to 2/3. That's okay. We have raised the threshold. But in the event that the threshold has already been raised and actually still a CEC is impeached, we need a transition plan that is within a legal framework. Because sometimes you have a governor wanting to get rid of their cabinet, and then it takes up to 5 or 6 months again, because of all the loopholes, people running to court and all this, there has to be a piece of legislation that is brought to this house, the upper house, that is there to protect devolution, to ensure that devolution is working. So the business of impeaching CECs, governors or deputy governors, should also be accompanied with the business of business continuity. I don't know whether I'm making sense. Therefore, there has to be a framework. There has to be a framework on, I know we are guided by the number of days, 14 days after you should bring a nominee, blah, blah, blah. But we have to make that process more efficient by legislating what happens next after that impeachment. Mr. Speaker, I've heard my colleagues saying that we are only impeaching governors and deputy governors, and we are not impeaching anyone else. If I'm not wrong, there is a motion actually in the National Assembly that deals with all issues on oversight of the national government. There is a motion to impeach a cabinet secretary there. And Mr. Speaker, if you ask me, I think that there should be a fast time for everything. And I truly hope that that motion in the National Assembly is taken seriously. And if you ask me, if there are grounds enough to impeach that cabinet secretary, because the issue of fake fertilizers is something that we don't take lightly. If the grounds are there, Mr. Speaker, let it be an example so that also other cabinet secretaries who are taking their appointments lightly will understand that they might have favor from God and favor from the appointing authority. But when it comes to oversight and the National Assembly and the Senate, we are not here to give favors. We are going to do our work as it is. And therefore, I think a very strong message, and I'm glad that we are discussing about only impeaching governors and deputy governors and why we are not impeaching cabinet secretaries. We should even be asking, why are we not impeaching CEOs of state agencies? Because, Mr. Speaker, sometimes you look at the work that we are doing in these committees. We are constantly calling in CEOs of state agencies, calling in who and who. Our business is just, inviting these people, explain this, explain that. But we should actually legislate on a threshold. How many times can you be called because your ministry or because the institution that you're running and you're the person that is in charge? How many times do we have to call you to keep asking you what is happening, what is happening? At one point, Mr. Speaker, we honestly need to have a way to impeach these people. Because, Mr. Speaker, there is also a very misconstrued notion that some of these cabinet secretaries have favor. They are the favorites of the president. So they think that they can get away with anything, Mr. Speaker. It is a fallacy. Mr. Speaker, it's a fallacy. By the way, the president, you can be his favorite, whatever. But as long as you are not working, as long as you're not delivering to the people, he is very clear and he keeps saying that, I have not appointed you because you're a friend. I've appointed you because you're supposed to deliver to the people. So when I look at this piece of legislation that Senator Cherargei has brought, I think it should be scaled up to cover so many other people who should be impeached. And we probably need to look at those state agencies in a manner that if they affect county governments, those impeachments should be carried out here. Because sometimes I think, and I think this is one of the moments where I suspect the president requires that we also do our work as legislators, as members of these two houses who are carrying oversight, to ensure that if there's anyone sleeping on the job, we don't have to wait for him to do a cabinet reshuffle or drop someone. We can just do our work here as the holders and the protectors of devolution. Mr. Speaker, I do not want to comment about the Bunge House, but I want to encourage my colleagues that the work that we have been given here, some of us have been conducting this work without offices. As a matter of fact, I've not had an office given to me by the Senate. And so therefore, now that we are being allocated offices, it is just one thing to make your work easier. However, I must say this, and I say this very carefully, that, my background is in architecture. And when I looked at how some of those, the use of space in that building was crafted, Mr. Speaker, there's someone really slept on the job, or there's someone with fake papers, fake architectural papers who must have been given that job to design. Because, Mr. Speaker, there are some offices that don't have windows. There are some offices where you have to sit in under air conditioning for all the hours. We put in 4 hours. 4 hours in chambers in the afternoon. Some of us were in committees from 9 o'clock till, and then we also have to see the electorate. How will you be sitting under the air conditioning? You know? So when I see some of the Senator Cherargei raising concerns, I can tell you that those concerns are valid, Mr. Speaker. I know that my area member of parliament who from Bobasi constituency in Kisii County, I know that he is involved as a quantity surveyor. And I can tell you that coming from the field of construction with a background in architecture, we need to literally ask for a proper audit of the monies that were paid to each contractor, from the architect to the quantity surveyor, to the person who supplied those lifts, Mr. Speaker. You cannot be waiting for lifts for 15 minutes. Yesterday I was there. I was standing for 15 minutes. I've pressed all the buttons on that floor waiting for a lift. It took me about 15 minutes to get a lift, Mr. Speaker. I can tell you, it is not that we want the soft life, Mr. Speaker. It is just that things must work. Simply that things must work. And Mr. Speaker, I'm very happy to have been allocated an office there. I have seen the office. From a person who's coming from no office at all, I have to an office altogether. I have to appreciate. At least my office has a window, and so therefore I cannot complain, Mr. Speaker. I just want to point out that as legislators with different delegations of people to address, Mr. Speaker, I have a staff that deals with sexual reproductive health and rights, periods and menstruation. And I am sharing an office with a person who wants nothing to do with those things. So all my guests who will be coming there with menstruation cups and all those sanitary towels and all those things, she will be forced to interact with those staff members. Why? Why, Mr. Speaker? Why? What was the necessity of forcing legislators who have nothing to do with each other's constituencies to share an office? For what reason, Mr. Speaker? At the cost of 9 billion, at the cost of 9 billion, and I don't know how many years, Mr. Speaker. Truly, if we are the House of Oversight, we also must start within ourselves. We have to oversight ourselves. And if there is money that has been spent that we cannot see from the auditor, starting from my member of parliament in Bobasi constituency as the quantity surveyor, they should be called to order. Let them refund that money. You cannot be billing for services that you never provided. And if at all they have already spent that money, I know that we are talking about asset recovery and the other institution that we were questioning here. We are willing to also take back the assets that they have acquired through the proceeds of this particular issue. With those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I want to say I will be there tomorrow. I will be there to launch the office because as much as I criticize, as I've said, 20 months plus, you know I have not had an office, so I'm happy to have an office. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Mohamed Faki.
Mheshimiwa Spika, pia kunipa nafasi hii kutoa kauli yangu kuhusiana na mswada ambao umeletwa bungeni na Senator Cherargei. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwanza nampongeza Senator Cherargei wa Nandi kwa kazi nzuri anayofanya katika bunge hili. Tulipompokea hapa mwaka 2017, Mheshimiwa Spika, Senator Cherargei tulimpa wadhifa wa mwenyekiti wa kamati ya sheria na haki za binadamu. Na hapo ndio tuliweza kumnoa kwa sababu katika kamati hiyo nilikuwako mimi, alikuwako wakili Fatuma Dulo, wakili Amos Wako, Okongo Mogeni, Orengo, na wote hao tulimpa mikoba ambao anaendelea kutumia mpaka sasa. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika hawezi kukosea. Vile vile pia ningependa nimpongeze kwa kauli aliyotoa jana kuhusiana na jumba la bunge Tower. Mheshimiwa Spika, kuna wabunge zaidi ya 400, wengine watachukua ofisi pale. Kwa hivyo usalama wao, Mheshimiwa Spika, ni kitu cha muhimu sana. Tukija katika mswada huu, Mheshimiwa Spika, naunga mkono kuwekwa kwa ile inaitwa threshold ya thuluthi mbili iwapo unataka kumuondoa mamlakani waziri katika kaunti zetu. Mheshimiwa Spika, tumeona kwamba mawaziri katika kaunti zetu hawajakuwa na msisimko wa kisawasawa, kwa sababu mara nyingi wanaangalia gavana anafanya nini. Na wakati wako karibu sana na gavana, member wa county assembly, wabunge wa bunge la assembly wanachukua hiyo ni kuwa ni unyonge, na kwa hivyo wanaweza kuwatoa mamlakani kiholela. Hii sheria, Mheshimiwa Spika, itasaidia pakubwa kuweza kuleta haki katika wale ambao wanataka kuondolewa katika mamlaka ya waziri katika kaunti zetu. Mheshimiwa Spika, tumeona kwamba mara nyingi magavana wanabana sana, wanakaba sana kutoa mamlaka kamili kwa mawaziri. Utapata kwamba waziri mara nyingi anaangalia gavana anasema nini ndio afanye kazi, Mheshimiwa Spika. Na wakati wakichaguliwa, Mheshimiwa Spika, wanaapishwa kwamba watafanya kazi kulingana na sheria, watafanya kazi kulingana na katiba ya Kenya. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, karibu Mama Orange. Naona umeingia na unahanyahanya mbele yangu na wakati mimi naongea, Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, karibu Mheshimiwa. Asikosirugabani lugha safi ya Kiswahili. Mheshimiwa Spika, tunasema kwamba ni swala muhimu kwamba kuwe na mamlaka au kuwe na threshold fulani ya kuhakikisha kwamba wale ambao wanataka kuondolewa mamlakani wanatendewa haki, Mheshimiwa Spika. Mheshimiwa Spika, kumuondoa mtu mamlakani kama vile ambavyo aliondolewa naibu wa gavana wa Kisii mwezi uliokwisha ni jambo ambalo ni zito sana kisheria, kwa sababu unamfunga yule mtu kimaisha yake, hawezi kufanya tena mambo ya siasa, na hata kupata kazi katika serikali inakuwa ni shida. Kwa hiyo lazima kuwe na kiwango fulani ambacho kikifikiwa ndio mtu yule anaweza kutoka kwenye mamlaka. Mheshimiwa Spika, mengi yamezungumzwa kuhusiana na masuala ya kuondoa mamlakani viongozi. Sisi kama bunge la Senate, Mheshimiwa Spika, tuna mamlaka ya kumuondoa hata rais. Lakini cha kusikitisha, Mheshimiwa Spika, ni kwamba hatuna mamlaka ya kumuondoa waziri katika serikali kuu. Tuliona hapa kwamba kuna mawaziri ambao wana utepetevu mwingi katika kuendesha kazi zao, lakini Mheshimiwa Spika, hatuna mamlaka ya kuweza kuondoa. Naibu wa kiranja wa upinzani, Mheshimiwa Spika, Seneta Sifuna alileta hoja ya kumsensha naibu wa rais, lakini Mheshimiwa Spika, hoja ile haikuona jua. Sina neno la Kiswahili ambalo naweza kutumia kwa sasa, ndio nikasema nitumie censure. Kashfa ni criticize, kashifu. Mheshimiwa Spika, motion ile ama hoja ile haikuweza kuona jua kwa sababu ya yale mamlaka ambayo yamewekwa katika hii bunge, ambayo mara nyingi yanahujumu kazi za wabunge na maseneta. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, naunga mkono hoja hii na tutasaidiana kuhakikisha kwamba imepita, ili tuweke sheria ambayo itasaidia kuongeza uwazi katika kaunti zetu. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika.
Senator Seki.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I also want to come very strongly to support this amendment on the County Government Act or Bill. And I want to appreciate and thank the Honorable Member, Honorable Senator Charagay, for coming up with this amendment of legislation. I believe that this will be quite in handy in terms of counties, particularly on the section of county governments, the CCs, who have been removed with no reason sometimes by governors in the counties. Honorable Speaker, I believe that there are quite a number of litigations and court charges in county governments through removal of these CCs. And it has been a big issue, particularly on the pending issues, because it comes in millions of money from counties. Counties being charged by courts for violating this kind of law. But more importantly, I want also to support a number of our colleagues who have also supported this motion or even this bill, because it's one of the areas that county governors have really misused. So I want to come very strongly to support this amendment and believe that this brings a stability to our counties and gives CCs reasons to make their independent minds, to think, plan, and even to work without any harassments from county governors. And this brings sometimes even to an extent where people will have tenure of work. They will work without fear. So I think this is very important, and I want to really appreciate, and it is in the spirit of supporting devolution. And the senators, particularly now this House, has reasons to support county governments. And this also brings the issue of performance to CCs and the CEOs even in the county. So I think, Honorable Speaker, this comes in the right time where we want to strengthen devolution. We have seen quite a number of impeachments which are not necessary. So I think this is the right time. It is a very clear amendment, and we want to see how we can improve further the County Governments Act, particularly on seeing how even the county secretary can be improved so that he has also a tenure of work, so that these governors will not just wake up one day and do their own things in their own offices. These are the offices that has been given, the governor has been given more power to do whatever he wants to, and they literally do almost everything. They give orders from one corner to another without even considering anything, without considering laws that are there. And because of, the very loose laws like this one, somebody will get afraid to make his own mind and even his own decision. So I think, to me, I want to support this bill and even this amendment, and request that the other members can continue to support it. Otherwise, it is quite in order to have a threshold which is quite higher than the one that we have of 1/3 to go to 2/3. So I think that is important to note that we support the amendment. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Seki. Senator Kio Wambua.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the bill sponsored by Senator Cherargei on the threshold for removal of a member of the executive in the county governments. Mr. Speaker, as we support this bill, it should also be noted, Mr. Speaker, as I heard the majority leader say, this patchwork, maybe at some point we may need to deal with it and come up with a complete legislation, especially on the matter of the removal from office of both the Senate, both the governors and members of the executive in the counties. I say this, Mr. Speaker, because the county assemblies must be supported to continue to exercise the provisions of Article 185 of the Constitution to oversight the executives, but they should also respect the principle of separation of powers between themselves and the executives. I am of the view, Mr. Speaker, that actually the place where we should have started, and I saw it starting here, is that on the hearing of the first impeachment motion on the floor of the Senate, the fourth Senate, I saw the majority whip give an undertaking to this House that he was going to be working very closely with the Committee on Devolution to come up with an impeachment bill, an impeachment law. There are senators here who would have wanted to sponsor that bill. But because the whip took the responsibility and said he was going to bring the bill to the floor, those other senators who wanted to do it took a back seat. Mr. Speaker, it is my humble request to the majority whip and the Committee on Devolution to take this matter a little bit more seriously. I say they should take it a little bit more seriously, Mr. Speaker, because we have seen governors go through anguish and pain of impeachment for reasons other than the provisions of the Constitution on removal of governors. There are governors who are out of office today, Mr. Speaker, for extra constitutional reasons. Mr. Speaker, I would dare, because Senator Cherargei, while contributing to this motion, made reference to me and where I stood on the impeachment of Governor Sonko, I want to remind this House and this country that to date, I believe that there were no grounds for the removal of Governor Sonko from office. And that he was removed for other reasons, not because of the breach of the Constitution, but for other reasons. And Mr. Speaker, what has happened is that now a very young leader, very robust, a man of the people, cannot hold public office because he was impeached for extra constitutional reasons. Mr. Speaker, what we are saying is that the Committee on Devolution, if Senator Halwale, for whatever reasons, is unable to move fast, let the Committee on Devolution take up this matter and bring a bill so that we debate and put in place proper requirements for impeachment of governors. Mr. Speaker, some of the things that we are being treated to in this House are personal vendetta. Somebody has disagreed with their political party. This House has no business fixing disputes in parties. That is not our problem. Or somebody maybe has a business has gone sour with some other people. It is not the business of this House to fix those relationships. Mr. Speaker, we need a watertight impeachment law. In fact, Mr. Speaker, I would dare say that we as a House, we as Parliament, have failed this country. We have failed this country because when you look at Article 181 of the Constitution, and Mr. Speaker, if you allow me, for purposes of clarity, I would want to read a section of that provision. Article 181(2) of the Constitution on removal of a county governor. It says, Parliament shall enact legislation providing for the procedure of removal of a county governor on any of the grounds specified in Clause 1. Mr. Speaker, we are required by the supreme law of the land to come up with an impeachment law. We have not done that. Now, what is going to happen, Mr. Speaker, is that the lower house will realize that we are dilly-dallying on this matter, and you will see them originate an impeachment
law from the lower house, and they will just bring it here for concurrence. And yet, Mr. Speaker, we are the people charged with the responsibility of protecting and defending devolution and county governments. Mr. Speaker, with those remarks, I want to support the threshold, the enhancement of the threshold for removal of CECs. But as I said, Mr. Speaker, we must also be very, very careful to strike a balance, so that, again, we also don't curtail the operations of the county assemblies, because it is their responsibility, it is their constitutional mandate to hold county executives to account. Mr. Speaker, lastly, I've had comments about the Bunge Tower. I've had Senator Cherargei being praised for bringing up the matter yesterday. I've not had people praising Senator Chute because he raised a statement which was also processed before the Roads Committee where I sit the day before yesterday. Mr. Speaker, if we cannot talk about problems and challenges in our own compound, then we lack the moral authority to speak about challenges of people in other compounds. Mr. Speaker, truth be told, there is a problem with Bunge Tower. There is a problem. Forget the exquisite offices that members have been allocated. Forget, Mr. Speaker, that there are offices that I'm told they don't have windows. Forget all that. Mr. Speaker, there must be a problem that a project initiated and costed at 5 billion to last for 48 hours, it takes 14 years to complete, and 9 billion Kenya shillings down the drain. Mr. Speaker, there is a problem. Whether you want to admit it or not, there is a problem. And how do you deal with this problem? Mr. Speaker, the way of dealing with this problem is to call out people. Because, Mr. Speaker, whatever has happened at Bunge Tower was done by human beings. There are people who took decisions. There are people who authorized payments. There are people who authorized variations. Mr. Speaker, we need to call people out. We need, Mr. Speaker, to answer the question of accountability. How accountable are those people who were supposed to make decisions? How accountable are they to us and to this country? The money that has been used, Mr. Speaker, to build Bunge Tower, it's public money. Mr. Speaker, if somebody can tell us to keep quiet about Bunge Tower, then that person should tell us to keep quiet about the expenditure of money in counties. It is the same. Money has come from the same kitty. It's public money. Some money has gone to the counties. Some other money has gone to construct Bunge Tower. If we cannot question Bunge Tower, then we cannot question what is happening in our counties. Mr. Speaker, I want to conclude by saying that I am aware, and this, Mr. Speaker, people must listen to this very carefully. I'm aware that there are members of staff who are being threatened with being sacked. In fact, I'm told some of them have been interdicted. And what is their biggest crime? Their biggest crime is allowing media to access Bunge Tower. Mr. Speaker, this Bunge Tower is not heaven. Even in heaven, Mr. Speaker, Jesus Christ died for us. And we have straight access. There can never be justification for firing a member of staff who allows media to get into Bunge Tower and show Kenyans how their 9 billion has been used. So, Mr. Speaker, as a House, we must demand and defend these members of staff. Because if we don't, then these members of staff will not be able to do anything. They will live under fear. Mr. Speaker, with those very remarks, I support.
Senator Karungu Thangwa.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity for me also to contribute to this very important amendment. But from the onset, Mr. Speaker, I could have stood on a point of information to inform my good friend, the Senator for Kitui, but I did not want to, confuse his line of thinking about the impeachment bill. And it's good to inform the House and also inform him that this bill is in publication because the Committee of JLAC looked at it, they wrote the report to the Speaker, and the Speaker has sent it for publication. So I believe we are moving in the right direction, and I'm the mover of that bill. Thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the impeachment bill. I would like to thank the Senator for Nandi, Senator Cherargei, for coming up with this amendment. And when I look at this amendment, it's actually saying almost the same thing with my bill. Because, Mr. Speaker, we believe how you got in should be the way you get out, Mr. Speaker. There is no shortcut. If you came through the majority of all the members, you should go out through the majority of all the members. Not the members who are seated at that particular sitting, but members who are members of that county assembly. Mr. Speaker, before I give my reasons on why this amendment almost goes in line with my proposal that we'll be discussing maybe probably within the next few weeks, I would want this House to understand you can have a very competent CEC working for a very incompetent governor. But you can never have an incompetent CEC working under a competent governor. Why am I saying that? Because a competent governor will always know who is an incompetent CEC. And the law gives the governor an express route of removing a CEC without anything, without discussion. So CECs are at the mercy of governors, and it should remain so, because they are the carriers of the vision of the governor. But when you have a very competent CEC who is working for the people of a certain county, and the governor is happy about it, politics comes in, Mr. Speaker. And that's why the impeachment comes, because the governor does not want to lose a certain CEC. But the MCAs, because they believe this person is taking credit for everything that he's doing, they would want to remove him from office. And that's where the impeachment of CECs comes through. They only do impeachments to punish the governor. They only do the impeachment to remove somebody whom they think is working more beyond themselves, Mr. Speaker. And that's why we should raise the threshold. Mr. Speaker, as we raise the threshold, as per my county government state officers' removal from office procedure bill, which is the impeachment bill, it has given proper direction from the inception to the time the CEC is removed from office, Mr. Speaker. Because initially, a county assembly could have removed the speaker, the CEC. And once you're removed from the CEC, the act at that particular time said, the governor shall dismiss. Then we're asking ourselves, Mr. Speaker, then why remove somebody and then order the governor to remove? You should give the governor an opportunity also to say, yes, I'm going to remove him because I agree with what you have said, or he will say, no, I cannot remove him. I return the memorandum to the assembly saying, you say this guy has stolen money, they have no signatures that they sign anywhere. You say this guy never comes to work, he is accountable to me. All my registers and all my schedules are here. It shows that he has always appeared, Mr. Speaker. So I think, going forward, this impeachment bill that is coming after this amendment, Mr. Speaker, will give a polite process that will give each and every person an opportunity to be heard. Mr. Speaker, I would like to give you an example of Kiambu County, because that's where I've come from. I've worked as an MCA, I've worked as a CEC myself, and now the senator of the great county of Kiambu. Maybe I'm in the process of metamorphosizing to something else. But Mr. Speaker, we have had 4 governors in Kiambu County. And allow me just to mention, because I'm not insinuating anything, to say the first governor, who was Governor Kabogo, he had empowered the CECs proper. They were respected. They were working. Why? Because he had allowed the MCAs to oversight his government. When the governor, the second governor, Governor Waititu, came, the CECs were just mere flower girls, Mr. Speaker. Reason? Because he realized they do not sign any document. So he empowered the chief officers instead, those people who sign somewhere, Mr. Speaker. The fourth governor, the third governor, Governor Nyoro, Mr. Speaker. That one I cannot even tell because it is not known what happened in between. But the current governor, as we speak, he's not empowering the CEC, he's not empowering the CEO, he's only empowering one person, called the Chief Finance Officer, Mr. Speaker. So we must protect the CECs because they are the carriers of the vision of the governor and they are the only people who sit at the cabinet, Mr. Speaker. And that's why I'm giving this example for you to understand that we should not let our waziri at the county to be taken advantage of. In Baringo County, we had MCAs threatening to impeach a CEC because of his beards, Mr. Speaker. Yeah, because of his beards, because he has not shaved his beards, Mr. Speaker. In Kirinyaga, between 2013 and 2017, the MCAs there wanted to impeach a speaker because of chewing gum in the chamber, Mr. Speaker. What we're trying to say is, yes, you might be sometimes disappointed by the behavior of a person, but that is not ground enough to remove him from office. You better resign yourself for not seeing such a person, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I agree that we need to relook into this issue of the County Government Act. The Leader of Majority has called it the Bible of counties. I will call it the Constitution of counties, Mr. Speaker, because that is the formation, that is the law that all counties use to run the affairs of that county, Mr. Speaker. And instead of amending that law as it is, we should be taking section by section, come up with a new law as to how that section is supposed to be governed, Mr. Speaker. If it is touching on PFM, we take that law, we take that section, and we make a law, a standalone law, just the way we are making a standalone impeachment bill on matters county government, Mr. Speaker. So I urge the senators in this House, let's continue reading that law, and as we read the law, come up with more laws that are going to help and govern these counties, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the reason why people are removed from office, one of the ingredients that are catalysts of removal is emotions, Mr. Speaker. And the law that I'm going to present to this House in the next few weeks is removing that emotions by increasing the number of days from when a CEC is supposed to be removed, from about 3 to 7 days to 21 days, Mr. Speaker. At that particular time, emotions would have cooled down and people would have started seeing things direct. Because once the motion of removal for a CEC is approved by the clerk after meeting the requisite requirement, within 7 days, the MCA is supposed to table it on the floor of the county assembly. After that, Mr. Speaker, once it is tabled as a notice of motion, it will require 14 more days for the county assembly to talk about it, to discuss it, Mr. Speaker. But after that, they will have a committee to investigate the CEC. Then we give them another 14 days. After that, Mr. Speaker, if they remove the CEC informed the governor within 3 days. I mean, the county assembly informed the governor within 3 days. And the governor has 2 options. Option 1, dismiss the county CEC. Option 2, write back a memoranda to the county assembly giving reason why he does not agree with them. And Mr. Speaker, once they see the memoranda, The County Assembly now can again discuss the memoranda, agree with the governor, or disagree with the governor. Once they disagree with the governor, they vote again, Mr. Speaker. That way we give an opportunity for everybody to be heard. A witness of a CEC, any CEC who is removed, a witness should be the governor. The governor should be standing at the dock. Because a CEC, if I can explain to this House, for us to understand who a CEC is just a watchman who stands by the gate to see who goes in and who goes out. He does not sign any document. He sits at the cabinet with the governor, and they pass program. Once they pass program, he tells the CEO, who is the chief officer, the accounting officer. Then the accounting officer can implement even behind the back of the CEO. Because the CEC is just, even we should change the law and make the CEC himself a chief officer also. You are having two positions. A CEC and a CEO should be one person so that we can even fight the wage bill. Why do we have a CEC who just attend a meeting of the governor to come and tell us somebody else to implement? You know, these are some of the things that we should be discussing, and I believe once we get there, everybody will understand. Mr. Speaker, what next? Senator Oroba asked. We should come up with a law that says, even after impeachment, what next? Within this bill that is coming, and I feel like I'm moving it, but it's good to help the members to understand where we are going, where we are headed. We have even said that there should be no replacement of a CEC after the impeachment. There should be no replacement of a deputy governor, even after impeachment, within 14 days, until we give that deputy governor or that governor an opportunity to go to court. We are not gods, even at the Senate. We cannot say our decision is final. Right now, we have just been told Mike Sonko was never removed. He was removed by, you know, so if we give him an opportunity to go to court and we give the timelines, probably he'll be saved by today. I'll give you an example of Kiambu again. I like talking about my county. Even Governor Waititu, even if he was impeached in this house, the people of Kiambu know very well there was no requisite number at the County of Assembly of Kiambu County. The other day, Mr. Speaker, the former Speaker of Kiambu, his name is Speaker Stephen Ndisho, was on radio, and he said he does not know what happened. He says, mashetani ilikuwa kwa kichwa. He knows there were no numbers. He said that on microphone, and the people of Kiambu heard him say that there were no numbers impeaching Waititu. Then Waititu was removed from here. Now he can never vie. He can never take any public seat because politics was the issue at that particular time. So we should come up with a law that even tells the MCAs, yes, you impeach this person. First of all, give us the video evidence, give us the Hansard, give us the number of votes, and if we have an MCA who is saying never voted, we listen to them first, Mr. Speaker. So as I conclude, Mr. Speaker, I think it is good we look at this County Government Act and we look at it, we comb it, they say, through with toothpick, so that we help these counties. I dare say, Mr. Speaker, in the county government of 2013 and 2017, it was national government that was trying to kill devolution. Between 2017 and 2022, it was the national government that was trying to kill devolution. But in the year 2022, going forward to 2027, the county governments are being killed within, Mr. Speaker. The governors are the ones who are killing counties, and probably the representative at the ward level. So we must work to empower them. And I wouldn't agree with Senator Kajwang when he said that the oversight role should be taken away from MCAs. No, they should be empowered. They should be empowered so that they are able to ask this question that we asked at the Senate, Mr. Speaker. So let's empower the MCAs, but also for them to understand that their role is to ask the governors questions of the monies that we send to the county governments. Mr. Speaker, I know this motion has taken the devolution issue and also oversight at the Parliament here, at the Senate, because of the Bunge Tower. So also allow me to say something on that issue. Mr. Speaker, that matter is with my committee. And if you know a committee that never jokes around with issues, it is this committee. This is a committee, I'm not saying that no one is as them, but I must be proud of my members. I have Senator Chute, I have Senator Sifuna, I have Senator Tobiko, I have Senator Kinyua, I have Senator Wambua, and I also have Senator Kajwang. Look at that committee, Mr. Speaker. We are going to look into this matter to the end. If it gets to us to summon the contractor who built that building, we will do that, Mr. Speaker. We will summon everybody so that we get to the bottom of this matter and we get to know why did this building take that long? Why did they, overbloat the expenditure? Why are they not answering the questions that we are asking? Because we are asked a question, Mr. Speaker. A building of how many floors? We don't even know. A building of that so many floors, Mr. Speaker, has a report of about 13 pages. I mean, at least take 1 page per floor. It should be more pages to tell us how you did and how you got to that point. So I am supporting everybody who is saying that we should look into the issue of these Bunge Towers. Whether it was made by our brother, whether it was made by our sister, we should look at it. The other day when the deputy governor of Kisii was being impeached, you could see his brother saying this man must go. Yes, we could see the brother saying this man must go. So even if our brothers are not doing the right thing, we as the Senate, we should also tell them they should return what they have taken from this parliament. With all those many remarks, Mr. Speaker, I support this, that we should have a threshold higher to remove a CEC. But as I support that, the law that is giving step by step of that process is in the pipeline, and I hope the members will support it. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Agnes Kavindo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to first of all congratulate Cheregai, Senator of Nandi, for this amendment bill about the County Assembly's threshold to impeach the CECs. But Mr. Speaker, I want also Cheregai and the committee which will deal with this bill to check on how the MCRs can be empowered to be able to call the CECs to the County Assembly for questioning, just like we senators call the CSs here at the Senate to question them. Because that one, they don't do it, and they only question the CECs at the committee level, which is not enough for them. Two, as we recommend this threshold to be 2/3, we should also look into the law, the County Assembly law, to be able to protect both the CECs and the County Assembly and the governors. Let's say, for example, if the CSs are not working and if they cannot deliver, all the accusation goes to the president. Anybody who stands accuses the president, and yet they are the CSs who are failing in their dockets which they are given to deliver. And so that should also be looked into so much at the same time at the county level. Because if, before we declare the governor has failed, the CECs will be the first people to fail. Why? Because the governors have given them a docket to assist them. If the governors could deliver at the county level on their own, they could not appoint the CECs. The same thing with the president and the CSs. So there's a gap there somewhere, and that gap is what should be looked at in this Senate so that we can streamline things. At the same time, the MCRs in the county assemblies are not doing their work of oversighting the governors. because they have no fund. What has made this Senate or the government of the executive, the president and the lawmakers not to give the MCS a fund so that they can be independent? Because as long as they depend on the governors to be able to deliver to their wards, they will never do the right oversight that they should do to the governors. So to enable them to work, we must find a way of them getting direct money. When I was in BBI, we had recommended that they get 20 million directly to them to be able to work in their wards, so that they are not at the mercies of the governors, and so that they can be able to oversight the governors properly without fear of that there will be no development in their wards. And because if they don't have any developments in their wards, then they'll risk their re-election. And so as we protect us here as senators, we should also protect the MCRs. And because we are defenders of devolution, we should check and make sure that the governors are doing the right thing that they are supposed to do, and the MCRs also are doing the right thing that they should do, and the CECs are also doing the right thing that they should do. I think with those few remarks, I support, but with those many amendments. And let's check even from the top. Because if we only correct things at the county level and we don't correct things at the national level, then we will not be doing anything. So this law that Cherega you have brought up, and the one that Karungo senator has brought up, you should sit down and see where the gaps are and make sure that it flows from the executive in the National Assembly and down to the county assemblies, and that will be very good. Two, I've had so many stories about Songo's impeachment. At that time, then I was not in the Senate, but I've had so many of the senators talk that Songo was impeached for no good reason. And maybe not only Songo, maybe others. We should look at the thresholds of impeachment for governors and make a law that will work and will be okay. It will not be compromised by either the Senate or even the county assemblies. And that will help us to move forward as a nation. Two, about the Bunge Towers. I think this should be looked into to clear every doubt and to make sure that everyone is okay with whatever work has been done there. If it was correct, if it is correct, that's okay. If it's not correct, then it should be followed to the latter. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I support.
Thank you, Senator Kavindu. Senator Chute Mohammed.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I am happy to get this opportunity to also support this bill amendment by Senator, the distinguished senator from Nandi, Senator Cherargei. Honorable Speaker, Article 179(3) up to 180 talks about CECs. And this amendment is very crucial, and it came at the right time. Removing a CEC with 1/3 is not justifiable. And I think what Cherargei has done, Senator Cherargei has done, is commendable. We need to have 2/3 majority, as he has said. To enhance this threshold, we need to sit with Cherargei also to add a few things, do a few amendments here and there, and that will be very, very important for us to make sure that CECs are protected. Honorable Speaker, if you look at the way CECs are being handled in the counties. It is, in fact, like a CEC is a flower girl for governors. Honorable Speaker, a CEC has no authority to sign any document if it comes to financial documents. The person in charge of finances are COs. And when they sit in the cabinet with the governor, they make amendments, they make laws, they have programs, plans for, let's say, a year, 2 years, 3 years, up to 5 years. But then a CEC will only do what the governor wants. And a governor can also, most governors are threatening the CECs to do whatever governor wants. These are not only to CECs, even COs. In some instances, letters are written from another office, and the name of that CO is written on that letter, below there, and the letter will be brought to the CO for the signature. These are even award of tenders. Honorable Speaker, the biggest problem we have in the counties are corruption. That is why you see a governor can give or promise somebody a contract without even going through normal tendering system. That is why Cherargei, with his wisdom, brought this amendment so that a governor cannot influence the CECs to remove, the governor cannot influence the MCS to remove a CEC. Honorable Speaker, having said that, we also have another problem in the counties, and these are salaries to the MCS. Honorable Speaker, an MCA today is earning, a place like Marsabit, earns about 140, 150,000. Let me give you an example. An MCA from Ilret, Marsabit to Ilret is almost over 500 kilometers. It takes you 2 days to go to Ilret. The road is very, very bad. Security is bad. And you expect this man to travel all the way to Ilret. The fuel he's going to use is about not less than 50, 60,000 going and coming back. The same MCA is having issues in the villages, whether it's a wedding program, funeral, harambes, it's doing small jobs. And then you expect the same MCA to come and work and make laws in the county assemblies. Honorable Speaker, we need, if you want to change these laws, to amend the laws, you need also, or we need also, to help our MCS to at least get a salary not less than 400,000 per month, if you want them to do a very good job. Some people are saying MCS are removing governors, even deputy governors. But this is an influence. They can be influenced from outside there to remove a governor or a deputy governor. That can be done because they don't have even money to do their own personal things, like taking their children to school. Honorable Speaker, I'll tell you today, how do you expect an MCA to oversight a CEC who is earning over 400,000? How can that be possible? It is not possible. He cannot work efficiently because he's not being paid well. If you want efficient control of the county, you need to pay our MCS well. Honorable Speaker, this proposed amendment needs to be looked at and add, or in fact, we need to add a few things. Honorable Speaker, the issue of the governors. Honorable Speaker, I met Governor Sonko about an hour ago in these premises. And the way Governor Sonko was removed, if there is a way of even asking the Governor Sonko to bring a petition to this House, because the way he was removed is totally, I think, is unconstitutional and also very irregular. Honorable Speaker, you know, when these laws of impeaching governors should be looked at, we need to do amendments. That amendment that can go even as far as after they've been impeached in this House. This matter needs to go to the courts for the courts to say, yes, this person was removed regularly. Honorable Speaker, some people are saying Governor Sonko was removed from up there, but I want to differ with those people. Because the same senators, some of them are here, even now, they're in this parliament. They removed Sonko. If they wanted to defy the issue of up there, they should have said no. Simple. Say, no, we're not going to remove this person. So the issue of removing somebody, and I'm very grateful, I'm happy that our president is not following that trend. He says no, because he goes to church every Sunday, and he believes in God. Honorable Speaker, removing our governor, elected by, in some instances, over 500,000 voters, by about 30 to 40 people, is really not the right thing to do. Honorable Speaker, if you look at Article 181, it says removal of a governor. C talks about abuse of office and gross misconduct. What is this gross misconduct? Like when we removed the deputy governor, they were talking about the deputy governor for Kisii. They were talking about money that was sent to him, 800,000. Is that gross misconduct? This is what we need to know, or to even think of, or even discuss, Honorable Speaker. So, Honorable Speaker, I will say I'm happy with this bill, but we need to do further amendments. And even talking on the issue of governance, we need to discuss, we need to have a discussion. I have a proposed bill amendment on the governors coming before this House. And we are just discussing on which particular day is convenient for the House and the management of this House. So anytime we agree on, I think this proposed bill will come before this House. And I'm sure Honorable Cherargei will support me on that. Honorable Speaker, there is this issue of Bunge Towers. Honorable Speaker, I brought a statement to this House in regards to Bunge Towers. Honorable Speaker, I happen to be in the Committee for Roads and Housing, and the answers we've gotten from that statement is shocking and quite unbelievable. Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, billion shillings, and it's supposed to be completed after about 2 years. Honorable Speaker, surprisingly, when the answers came before us, the answer they gave was From 5 billion, the contract was increased to 9.6 billion shillings. And it took 11 years to complete. Even some items, specifically electrical items, which are there, are already outdated. They are outdated and they cannot be used now. They need to remove most of them. Honorable Speaker, the main contractor had so many subcontractors, you don't know even who is doing what. That is the statement from Parliamentary Service Commission. Honorable Speaker, there is an elephant in the room. This is Parliamentary Joint Services, led by a Director General. Honorable Speaker, I am bringing a statement next week in that regard. We want to know how much budget they have, how that money is used, and I want to also thank Honorable Wambua to he brought up an issue of employees who are interdicted because they invited, that is, they said they invited some media people into that house. Honorable Speaker, there is not only the issue we have is not only on the Bunge Towers. There is something else happening in this parliament. They are doing something called Physical Security Information Management System, PSIM, which is contracted to a contractor, I'm told, already going into 6 billion shillings. I'm going to bring a statement, Honorable Speaker. Next week, we want this House to be furnished with documents that show that the exact position when they started that project and where we are now, how much money was tendered for, and how much was already spent, what is the balance payable, and if the work is complete, and or when it's going to be completed. Honorable Speaker, like Senator Wambua said, we need to start to clean our house first. We call people here, the governors, that they are corrupt. We call ministers here, CSS, corruption. And we need to clean our house first. The Speaker of the National Assembly said he is going to punish those people who ask these questions. We are elected to ask questions. We are elected on behalf of 60 million people of this country. And we don't fear anyone except our God. We will ask questions today, tomorrow, and as long as we are in this House, Honorable Speaker. Finally, Honorable Speaker, in support of Senator Cherargei's statement, I want to urge you, after next week, we need to sit and discuss this amendment and see how we can help add more issues on it. Honorable Speaker, let me, in conclusion, say I wish to support this motion. Asante sana. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Chute. Senator Siango Kalunda Beth.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity also to speak to this motion. Mr. Speaker, I want to congratulate, I usually call him Nandi Finest, Senator Cherargei. Mr. Speaker, when there is a cheap or weak threshold of removing CECs, then this becomes ground for corruption for governors to deal with those whom they feel are not dancing to their tune. It is important that this is proposed that the threshold is increased from a third to 2/3, so that there are good grounds to remove a CEC from office. Mr. Speaker, when a CEC is working under fear and they are not sure for how long they could remain in office, then they may not even perform their duties well. So this will make them accountable, and as they perform their duties without fear, then they will deliver. As the Senate, we are to protect and take care of devolution. Then devolution will work. Mr. Speaker, I am also concerned about the independence of county assemblies. How I pray that the mover of the bill will also include the independence of county assemblies. When the county assemblies have their financial autonomy, then they will perform their oversight duties effectively. Mr. Speaker, it is important that we have clear threshold of removal from office of public servants. When political or personal differences are used to remove a governor or a CEC from office, it is not right. And this I want to give the example of His Excellency Governor Sonko, who was removed from office from unclear reasons or grounds. Maybe because of political interests, maybe because of personal hatred, and this young man of this country cannot serve in any other public office. Mr. Speaker, I repeat, it is very important to have clear grounds and to increase this threshold for impeachment. Our duties as the senators in this House is to make sure that Kenyans are served effectively. And if there are people who feel that they have been removed from office because of victimization, like Mike Sonko, what are we telling the young generation who are looking up also to take up leadership positions in this country? Mr. Speaker, allow me to add my voice slightly on the intimidation of our staff, sacking of our staff, just because of making Kenyans know things that are not done right in the assemblies or in the parliament or in the Senate. Because when the media brought it up, that the incomplete Bunge Towers, it's when things were done hurriedly, and some of us who have been suffering in squeezed offices then were relocated to other offices. Mr. Speaker, I would cry also for justice of those staff members who are victimized because they allowed media to expose that which was hidden. Mr. Speaker, as many of us have said, let us clean our house first. Let us do things right so that we may have even the authenticity to speak of rot and other bad things out there in other institutions. Mr. Speaker, allow me to finish by saying I strongly support this bill, and I look forward to having a strong, good bill that will be now used when removing or moving any impeachment for a CEC or even governors. I support.
Senator Mungatana Danson.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to support this bill. Mr. Speaker, first I want to congratulate the Honorable mover of this bill, Senator Cherargei, for shifting the attention of this Senate. Mr. Speaker, since we came in, we have focused a lot on governors. We have discussed a lot on deputy governors, but we have not really engaged on the CECs or the ministers at the county level. Mr. Speaker, this is a good opportunity for us to discuss the ministers at the county level. I fully support the protection of the ministers at the county level. Mr. Speaker, increasing the threshold for removal of ministers at the county level makes that office be respected, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, respect and protection is critical for the performance of their duty at the county level. Mr. Speaker, we in Tana River have had the sad experience of having a CEC who has gone for a formal engagement, and the driver tells you, you know, I've been asked to take the car back by the governor. And so the CEC finishes his work, her work, and finds that he has no car to take him back to station. Why? Because the governor has ordered that vehicle to go back to station. The lack of respect, the lack of protection for CECs has hampered the execution of their duty. So, Mr. Speaker, this amendment that gives focus on the offices of the CECs in our county is a good amendment. Mr. Speaker, in fact, I dare say it's a historic amendment. Why I say so, Mr. Speaker? Because many years to come, 50 years to come, Mr. Speaker, these ministers are going to be offices that are highly respected. People who form policies that will determine how we live in the countryside. People who determine how our lives will happen when we formally retire from public service. Mr. Speaker, when those days come, 50 years from today, 40 years from today, the amendment that we have made in this house today, the law that we are writing in this house today, will serve this nation very well. Mr. Speaker, the offices of CECs, for now, because they have not really asserted their presence, they have been treated like appendages of governors. And this should not be so, Mr. Speaker. I remember in my older life when we served under President Mwai Kibaki. Mr. Speaker, in those days, ministers used to have full delegated authority. When a minister goes out and says, this road will be built, when a minister comes to your constituency and says, this is going to be done, when a minister says, we are going to start the construction of this bridge next year, they did not used to suffer the humiliation of supplementary budgets, and your programs are removed or wiped out, and you become a CEC who is just, or a minister who is just picking salaries and not executing a single duty, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, for us to return honor, for us to return respect, for us to return authority to the office of the CECs in the counties, Mr. Speaker, we need to pass this amendment. For us to be on the right side of the history of devolution, we need to pass this amendment so that we can give power, we can give authority to the CECs to be able to execute their functions. Mr. Speaker, even when they are disagreeing with the governors, but they are doing the correct thing, Mr. Speaker, we should be able to support them. And this law is a step in the right direction. Mr. Speaker, in Senates of future, we should have, in fact, laws that specifically deal with the authority of CECs.
This amendment is a good beginning, but we need to protect them, Mr. Speaker, so that they are able to execute their duties. When they sit down and they write those programs, when they sit down and they propose budgetary allocations, and those budgets are given to them, it should not be so easy, Mr. Speaker, for governors to just bring a supplementary, literally wipe off the entire development vote from the CEC, and it is taken back to special programs of the Office of the Governor, and you leave the CEC without a single cent of development vote. Mr. Speaker, we are not doing fair. We are not being fair to the devolution spirit in this country. We should have law that protects them so well that when the governor is trying to push them to do the wrong things, Mr. Speaker, they are protected by that law. This law today is a beginning. It is protecting the CECs against the force of the county assembly. We are increasing the threshold, Mr. Speaker, for their removal. But we need to have another law on the other side that also protects CECs from the threats of governors who want to use them to do the bad things. Mr. Speaker, CECs in these counties, and I know and I can name a few, some extremely respected people, some who have served for a very long time in national government and they have retired back home. They have no interest in making money, but they are making a contribution to their county. They are given this position. Mr. Speaker, some governors who have foresight have actually even picked professors. I know of 2 professors who served as CECs in some of the coastal counties, Mr. Speaker. Not that they didn't have good jobs where they were, not that they couldn't raise good money wherever they were working, but they want to make a contribution to their counties and to the development of the spirit of devolution. So, Mr. Speaker, you can imagine a very good civil servant who maybe served as a PS or a director whose contract came to an end after 3 years at the national government. He's then taken to serve as a CEC. A professor who is a lecturer at the university, Mr. Speaker, he's tapped to come and serve as a CEC. And then such a respected professional, Mr. Speaker, is then treated like an extension, a lackey, a person of no consequence within the administration of a county, Mr. Speaker, is unfortunate. So, Mr. Speaker, my prayer is that we have started well by giving this office some protection, some good protection, but we must also create further protection from the side of governors. We are creating a good protection for the CECs from the side of county assembly from this law. But as we write this law, we must also think of creating protection for effective management of counties or from the side of governors. So, Mr. Speaker, I really want to support this. I believe it is on the right side of the history of devolution that for the first time we have focused on CECs. And Mr. Speaker, my prayer is that we will actually write a full law on how CECs should be protected, how they are going to carry out their functions, how, Mr. Speaker, they can make a solid contribution to the management of counties and to the spirit of devolution. Mr. Speaker, with those many remarks, I beg to support. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, there being no other senator who is seeking to contribute to the bill, I'll call upon the mover, Senator Chergey, to reply.
Mr. Speaker, sir, thank you very much. I'll make it precise and brief by thanking colleagues. Mr. Speaker, sir, who have contributed, and I'm happy this bill has received the necessary input and comments from members. I want to assure them any way of improving on this bill is welcome, ideas, enriching it, and even amending it for the betterment. I think the ultimate goal and the standard is that, Mr. Speaker, sir, excuse me, is to ensure that we enrich, widen, and deepen devolution, and flourish devolution, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, I thank colleagues led by Senator Mohammed Abbas, the chairperson of devolution, for also saying that this should ensure stability in our counties and ensure our professionals are protected. As Senator Mungatana has said, you have tapped a senior person who has wealth of experience, only to subject them into unpredictability. And also, Senator Abbas has been challenged as the chair of devolution and committee to come up with omnibus review of the County Governments Act, because from 2013, way back after 2010 Constitution, Mr. Speaker, I think it is important we do stock taking or stock of the entire bill in terms of devolution. And Mr. Speaker, I want to suggest, as Senator Cheruyat has said, that we don't only do county governments review, we do the entire of devolution laws. I think more than 10 years, we can notice how it works, Mr. Speaker, and review. I also, Senator Manso, to thank Senator Manso, I agree with him that we should not allow, because sometimes it perpetuates political witch hunt. If the threshold of impeachment of CC county executive members is low, that one can be a ground for political witch hunt, Mr. Speaker. And I agree with him, Senator Cheruyot. I think he has proposed that the threshold is okay, and I think he has proposed that we need to ensure, Mr. Speaker, the review on the entire devolution laws. Senator Otsotsi, thousands, and it's also we should need to strike a balance. I agree. To thank Senator Otsotsi and Senator Gloria Orwoba. We need to enhance impeachment proceedings, transition. I agree and welcome those ideas. Senator Faki is in full support. Senator Seki, stability of the county. Senator Wambua, Deputy Minority Leader, assessment of the impeachment procedure role, I agree. And if the majority whip taps long, I think any member can pick it up so that we have decency, Mr. Speaker. Senator Karungo Tango has given his personal testament because he's one of the people. Today, Mr. Speaker, we were lucky that we had a specimen or a testimony of somebody who has gone through an impeachment in a county assembly. And those who are insightful comments, he's also the sponsor of impeachment procedure bill. I want to assure him when he comes on board, it will be, we'll support him. Senator Kavindu Mudama, he has said we must strike to protect both primary oversight of MCS and also to ensure primary oversight is maintained. And then it says we have a mirror-like law, Mr. Speaker, where the national legislation should reflect other issues, Mr. Speaker. Senator Chuto, of course, I agree with the fight corruption. And MCS welfare, Mr. Speaker, you are aware I'm the biggest champion, and I'm happy the President has directed we need to review and relook at the welfare of MCS, not only their personal salary and emoluments, Mr. Speaker, but also on other aspects, Mr. Speaker, the welfare, the mileage allowance, the use of vehicles, Mr. Speaker. I think he has even used one of the words that is 2 days to go through it. The Speaker, a ward like Kiliboni ward in Nandi is one of the largest. When you go to Kemalai Maraba, Soba Songo, one of the biggest, and therefore you can imagine the type of the car or even the payment. And you know, Mr. Speaker, under labor laws, when MCA started, it was around 140 to 200 in 2013, but now it's 80,000 basic salary, Mr. Speaker. While the speakers of county assembly, the CCM are earning over 450,000, Mr. Speaker. The governors are earning 1.1 something million, Mr. Speaker. In the principle of a third, in fact, the MCA should be earning, in the principle, the way we earn, Mr. Speaker, because the president and the deputy earn, and then around 1.2, Mr. Speaker, or thereabout, and as we are earning around 500, Mr. Speaker, it should be basis of either half of what the governor is earning, so that it gives value to MCAs. And I'm happy the issue of MCAs has received the necessary attention. We must protect the MCAs, because, Mr. Speaker, even if we give powers to MCAs and they are not well-resourced or well-fed, in terms of even the chambers they use, the systems they use. And I want to thank your office, Mr. Speaker, because every time a county assembly team comes, your office and your secretariat is always at hand to build capacity, both of members of county assembly and their secretariat at county assemblies across the nation. Mr. Speaker, therefore, MCAs form a very critical and pivotal role in terms of protecting devolution in this republic, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, I will continue championing along other colleagues that we must protect the MCAs, we must give them the whole resource, and I hope SRC, Council or County Assembly Forum, the Council of Governors, and Mr. Speaker, AMCA, led by my brother, the SG, the MCA from Naivasha, who is leading in the AMCA, Association of Members of County Assembly, should fast track. Mwalimu, the MCA from Naivasha in Nakuru County. Mr. Speaker, so therefore I agree on the aspect of Senator Shiengo Betty, thank you very much. Given me accolades, Mr. Speaker. I wish her well, Mr. Speaker, as she pursues her pursuit of becoming the woman rep of Kitui County, Mr. Speaker, and he has insisted. Mr. Speaker, of course, you was truly the famous. You know, Mr. Speaker, before I joined Parliament, I used to admire how fiery and a firebrand Mlamwamba, Senator Danson Mbuya Mgatana used to articulate at the floor of the House when it was still a National Assembly. And it is an honor to serve him in the same chambers. Mr. Speaker, his wisdom is always valued. And I agree with him that he has said that we need to protect these professionals. We cannot create CCM to be a graveyard of of careers, Mr. Speaker. You cannot go and headhunt somebody who used to lead as CEO of a bank, give him a CCM and then subject him to unpredictability. Yet that person comes with a wealth of experience. So, Senator Danson Mungatana, I agree in totality that we must have stability in devolution. Our interest, by the way, the fact that we oversight governance does not mean we don't like devolution, because we know if devolution works today, Mr. Speaker, no one will care who is the president of Kenya. Because if devolution works, you will have water. For example, you had the other day, Garissa is only less than 1 kilometer, Garissa County, but they don't have water. River Tana, where Senator Danson Mangata, they don't have water. I saw Garissa Water Company saying the people of Garissa should harvest water because the rains might come to an end, Mr. Speaker. If those people have water, no one will care about who becomes the president. Mr. Speaker, if those people have bursary, they have drugs in hospital, they have good roads, Mr. Speaker. Like in Nandi, there are all roads in 30 wards are virtually impassable, Mr. Speaker. And I think our governor has resigned technically because he's no longer in office, he's doing nothing, it is raining, the roads are impassable, Mr. Speaker. And I want to, Mr. Speaker, even advise our people, especially with the landslide and many rains, to be careful. So, for example, in Nandi, even the rats are walking around in hospitals, in Kapsabet County Referral Hospital. You go, Mr. Speaker, to the town market, they are in Kapsabet town. There is no water in main town market. Women are just sitting. It is very dirty. There is no working toilets. There is no electricity. There is no, if it rains, those women continue to suffer. Not only in Kapsabet town markets, but most of the town markets from Maraba, Kabiet, all over Chepterwai, Mosoria, they are just sitting in the sun, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, I agree and call upon. And even, for example, also Garissa, Mr. Speaker, you can see they are still paying 11 people who are retired and should not be paid at, but Mr. Speaker. So we need oversight. So I'm calling upon the MCS, Mr. Speaker, even as we assist them to do their primary oversight. We want to see the MCS of Bomet doing their job. We want to see the MCS of Meru doing their job. It doesn't mean, Mr. Speaker, when we give them opportunity, Mr. Speaker, they don't take the necessary action to ensure they do their job. Let them all governors spy. I almost used a very unpalatable word. But let them all governors by what should be accounted for, Mr. Speaker, going into the future. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, I want to thank many members, of course, on a small matter that I brought before you and the House. I'm bringing a comprehensive statement, Mr. Speaker. I think I have said, and I want to repeat, we are the apex of democracy. They say in equity, the principles of equity, Mr. Speaker, they say who comes to equity must come with clean hands. We do not have moral authority to oversight governors, to oversight national executive, to oversight judiciary and other independent institutions if we cannot question and oversight ourselves, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if there is something wrong within management of Parliament, no one should gag us, Mr. Speaker. Unless there is a gagging order that has been issued, Mr. Speaker. I raised that ordinarily, Mr. Speaker, and I know you have attended our session at Senate Public Accounts, before an ECD in somewhere in Sigor, I know Sigor, Mr. Speaker, is famous in other things. Before an ECD in Sigor, in Bomet, is completed, when your governor appears before the Senate, one of the questions we ask him is that this ECD1 classroom, does it have certificate of occupation? The governors normally produce pictures and certificate of occupation. If you are building a building somewhere in Kablel Artet, somewhere there, Mr. Speaker, you must produce evidence of the same. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I want to say this in conclusion. The fact that Bunge Towers, most members, Mr. Speaker, don't have offices. They have offices, they are sharing it, Mr. Speaker, which is okay. We don't have a problem with it. But the point we are trying to do is follow the law. We are the lawmakers. So if today we ask the Parliamentary Service Commission, give us a certificate of occupation, why is it that if today, Mr. Speaker, a minister comes and they are building an institute, when we are cross-examining a minister here or questioning him, we ask him, where is the certificate of occupation from public house? They don't have a problem. Then why is it when it comes to us as a parliament, we don't want to produce, we want to break the law? And I was asking about certificate of occupation, certificate of completion, pending works, Mr. Speaker, ensuring also public health. How safe are they, Mr. Speaker? And I said yesterday, some offices don't have windows. And those windows, if you don't see sun for some time, Mr. Speaker, you can get jaundice. I think if I'm right in biology, Mr. Speaker. Even yesterday, members got stuck in the lift for better time of the hours because the lift, you wait for more than 15 hours. So what is ultramodern about it, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, I want to call even my brother, Majority Leader Senator Cheruiyot, told me to use gym. But I've gone to that gym, there is no exit. In fact, it has not been allowed to use at the moment, Mr. Speaker. So let us be honest as a parliament with ourselves, and even the little matter of money. Mr. Speaker, when this idea was conceived, it was 5.6 billion. It has now gone beyond 9 billion, Mr. Speaker. For example, we ask our governors here, Nandi, governor, we gave you 7.5 billion. What did you do it? The governors are ready to account. But when we ask ourselves, they don't want to account, Mr. Speaker. And let me give you a comparison so that members can understand in conclusion. Mr. Speaker, you see Central Bank Kenya Towers. That building is 27-story here in the CBD. It was built with 2.5 billion. This one has been inflated from 5.2 billion to more than 9 billion. 4 billion cannot, to 4 to 5 billion, or 4 billion thereabout cannot be accounted. Those are 3 or 2 mega buildings of 2.5 billion each that can be built within the CBD of the Republic of Kenya, Mr. Speaker. So we must also, as we say we want to sort the issue of renting offices for members, we must also show due diligence and account for money that we give out, Mr. Speaker. And if this one will force some of us to appear before Powers and Privilege Committee, so be it, so that we can know. And Mr. Speaker, we need also to protect our staff. We don't want members of Secretariat and members of staff in Parliament to live under fear. Mr. Speaker, under Article 34 and 35, it talks about media freedom and freedom of information. Why would you interdict 2 officers who allowed media to do a tour of a public office unless you are telling the country Bunge Towers is a private property? Then put a big sign so that it will not even be accessible by public, but as a public office. Media have a right to access, look at it, and share with the nation, Mr. Speaker. So I hope those members, before we resume next week, the 2 interdicted staff, Mr. Speaker, the interdiction should be withdrawn, Mr. Speaker. Immediately they should allow to report back to the office, to their offices, Mr. Speaker. And they should not be victimized, because some of us understand the labor laws. That is what I wanted to say, Mr. Speaker, so that as we go into the future, so I'll not be intimidated, will not be coward, Mr. Speaker. We shall continue, Mr. Speaker, to ensure that we call for accountability, sobriety, Mr. Speaker. I want to confirm to the nation, because of the reservations I have against opening, because of the reservations, Mr. Speaker, I have for the opening off the Bunge Towers offices. I will keep off to retain my sobriety, Mr. Speaker, and to retain my integrity. I want to assure the nation I will not show up because I have reservations. And when we ask questions, Mr. Speaker, we were told you cannot question. If you question, you will appear before powers and privileges. Mr. Speaker, I said before, there was one man called Uhuru Kenyatta, he was a former president. There was a powerful interior minister who used to arrest me every Friday, used to intimidate me. So the era of intimidation, blackmail, and coercion, their prices in this country has gone down. So, Speaker, I will be enjoying myself and discharging my duty because you will release us today. So, Speaker, I know I can even come to Bomet and enjoy the football match, which is wonderful that you are prepared under Wakili football match somewhere in Silibwet Stadium or Bomet Green Stadium. On tomorrow, I can start enjoying from Friday, Saturday, the final day, Mr. Speaker, in support of what you are doing to empower the youth talents in Bomet County as their senator, Mr. Speaker. So we have so many places we can go. So no one should blackmail us or intimidate us. Let members be allowed to express their reservations. We understand there is need for office space, but that one does not give a ground to break the law. Mr. Speaker, with those many remarks, I want to thank my colleagues and request, Mr. Speaker, that in pursuance to Standing Order 66.3 of the Senate Standing Orders, I request that you defer the putting of question on this motion to a later date when we have good numbers to go for division. With all many remarks, Mr. Speaker, allow me to rest my submission and thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity and wish all of us a blessed weekend, a safe weekend, Mr. Speaker, as Kenyans, wherever they are. As I'm told there is going to be heavy rains during this weekend, Mr. Speaker, to be careful in our roads, in our farms. Don't cross a river, Mr. Speaker, that you think there is flash floods. I know there was an incident in Chemase where I come from, Mr. Speaker. Please, I ask Kenyans, even here in the city, let us be careful as the flash raids continue. Even the young people who are going for a looter, Mr. Speaker, as you do your TikTok movies, TikTok filters, make sure you are safe wherever you are. And don't take too much. You know, the water does not know you. So as you go a looter or any other issues you do in the city, be careful wherever you are. Otherwise, Mr. Speaker, thank you and God bless you.
Thank you, Senator Cherargei. And pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 66.3, the question as regards the bill is not put today until the next sitting of the House. Now, Honorable Senators, owing to the earlier rearrangement of the order paper, order number 9, order number 10, and order number 11 were deferred for the next sitting owing to the numbers in the House. Order number 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 19 and 20 are hereby deferred because the sponsors are not in the chamber. And with that, honorable members, I'll ask that we rise. Honorable Senators, there being no other business on the order paper, the Senate stands adjourned until Tuesday, 23rd of April, 2024 at 2:30 p.m.